Hi, and welcome to a special episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. We just had a giveaway, and we had our winner, who is at Gelfwings, or G Elfwings. I'm not sure. Is Gelf? Is that Terry? You would know. Is that a sex thing?
Is a Gelf a sex thing?
It sounds like a sex thing.
I believe it sounds like a gnome elf sex thing.
I think your word you're looking for is gilf.
No, Dan, I believe that's the word you're looking for. I am not looking for gilf.
Look, I'll try anything twice.
All right. So anyway,
this may just be a two-way conversation anyway. One person may not be coming through here. Probably me.
So it's at Gelfwings. Congratulations. We've got the Mimic in the mail heading off to you right now. Actually, you may even have it as we speak, the Mimic minis. But you have a very special episode, which is dedicated to you, and you asked us to cover the new Unearthed Arcana magic tattoos. There was an Unearthed Arcana release just like a couple of weeks ago now, which was all about some new spells and some new magic tattoos. You specifically wanted us to talk about the tattoos. I don't think we've ever covered anything Unearthed Arcana on this podcast before, except for the revised Ranger in the first Rangers episode.
Right, that's right, yeah.
We've mentioned our intention to get into these things in several episodes, but I don't know, man. Like this is a mountain too high, in my opinion. There's just so much of these Unearthed Arcanas out there, and
by the time that you touch them, they're going to be included in another book or forgotten about altogether, right? So
that's right. We spent our first year going through all of the core stuff, which we haven't even finished in its entirety yet, before we get to the add-on stuff. So it's just going to keep growing. So it's hard to get to it all.
Exactly.
Well, and that's a great opportunity for people who win these contests. We're going to do a bunch of them, and this will always be a component of them. We're going to include them as part of the Mailbag series because it's user questions, right, or listener questions. So, so this is a great opportunity for us to dig into some UA stuff. But before we do anything else, guys, do you wanna roll the music?
Like right now?
For fuck's sakes! Because I'm not in the room, you think you can get away with shit, Dan?
I can't. I don't know. I think I'm getting away with quite a lot.
All right, so this is a bit of a unique scenario here where the three of us are all calling in. So bear with us if there's any sort of audio qualities. We're trying this out for the first time. I promise the content will be the same level of gutter garbage that we usually do. However,
from two of the three of us,
from Dan and Terry.
Aww.
But the quality, we're doing our best, guys. Bear with us. We're trying to figure it out. So anyway, let's talk about magic tattoos.
Let's do it.
We've spoken briefly about the idea of magic tattoos a couple of times in the past. One of them was on our second Barbarians episode. But how do you guys feel about the idea of magic tattoos in the first place? Before we get into the nitty-gritty and the mechanics, how do you guys feel about just the existence of magic tattoos? Do you like them?
Are we rolling or we just diving in? I don't mind either way.
Let's roll. Let's roll.
Let's roll. Honesty
right.
Policy. I botched.
Oh man, I got a natural 20. Actually, no, I didn't. I got a 19.
I got a 10.
I got a
10 in reality, Dungeon Master.
I got a 5. So all right, Dan.
I love magic tattoos. I've always loved using them as kind of like a spell per day use item. Like I've had many different iterations of magic tattoos in all of my games all the way through, from our current campaign to like one of the first campaigns I ever ran. I love tattoos. I've got a few myself, so I'm on board with them, man. I love them.
Yeah, me too. I love the idea because I think it enhances culture and brings the races and the different cultures in D&D to life much more as well. Just like we see in the real world when you think of like Samoan tattoos, Hawaiian, Maori, like whatever it may be, like Sailor Jerry pirate tattoos, or white girls that take tattoos from other people's cultures. It's all, it's going to bring this this game to life so much more. And to have them as kind of as magic items with their own special rules, I think is just going to allow us to explore the game so much more. I don't, we'll get to maybe downsides, but, just right off the bat, I don't really see too many.
Yeah, I really like them for things like it's a racial or a class thing, right? Like for Goliaths, yes. Barbarians, yes. You can honestly give it to anybody. You can have a gnome wizard with a bunch of rad tattoos as well. Like I don't care. It makes it a little bit harder when you get into things with feathers and scales. I would say that you've got to deal with like dyes as opposed to tattoos for Kenku and Aarakocra. But I mean,
or you're talking more like designs on bills or stuff like that, right? Like there's you got to do weird options,
branding or something,
which is fine. I mean, I don't mind that at all. I think it adds a cool dynamic to make your personal character more unique, as long as it still looks like a tattoo, right? And so
I'm also on board with them, like and it does mention here in the UA body modifications as just a general rule, so not necessarily just tattoos, but also like subdermal stuff or scarification or like birthmarks, certain patterns, like cosmetic changes that characters could go through. All of this stuff can be applied in the same thing, and I think they, as long as it makes sense for your character, go nuts. Like, I don't understand why a, you know, incredibly bookish or something along those lines like wizard would have some tattoos, but you know, I don't know, a half-elf bard swearing that this says live, laugh, love in Elven, even though they might not speak it. I don't know. Like, these are things that I love.
A dream catcher.
Yeah, right.
I like the idea of a dream catcher on a Kalishtar, so it actually catches dreams.
But it's you're right about them, because it sparks creativity, though, right? It's like we can go in so many different avenues with this now.
Yeah, I want, Terry, do you want to weigh in on this? Dan totally jumped the gun. We were going to get into the variant a little bit later.
Sure.
But we might as well jump on it now. The one thing that it says in it is that, you know, we're going to talk about tattoo needles a bit, but if you've got a brand, you can use a branding iron, or if there's a like scarification knife, then you would use that in place of the needle, right? There is a magic component to it as well. But Terry, do you have any ideas or any thoughts about it being something beyond a tattoo?
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of body modification with brands especially, because I mean, I used to watch the Spartacus series where all of the slaves are branded or have some sort of mark to them, and we kind of played it in the game that you ran there, Adam, where you had the half-orc slaves all had some sort of brand or mark as well, and I like the idea because we can make it so much deeper, especially with like religious connotations or whatever, where there's such a wide range of pantheon like in the D&D universe. So I think it opens things up more than it closes it down. So when we're talking, especially birthmarks, omens, everyone's seen the, like the idea of Damien and stuff with the birthmark, that we can go so deep down into that now.
Well, they have the magical dragon marks in Eberron, which are essentially tattoo-like birthmarks that you get that give you magical powers.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I love it. I don't see how there's a downside to it. I think we can just get very creative with it, and it can. Yes, I do like it. Yes.
You've given me an idea as well with this as I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm thinking about the branding, and you brought up the half-orc slaves.
Yes.
I'm thinking about in the drow, who are inherently magical in and of themselves, and they're slavers. And, of course, the mind flayers are as well, putting brands on their slaves to keep them nearby certain items, or they can't cause violence without getting psychic damage or something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, the amount of times I've seen in a campaign, like actual manacles that have arcane runes around them that are supposed to be the thing that you break to set the captives free. How much harder would it be if those manacles are actually tattooed onto their wrists?
Yes.
And now you have this purely magical barrier to get through. The barbarian can't just hit it with an axe and make it go away.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many directions we can go to, and I think, and this might sound like a silly example, but I think of like things like brands and like those half-orc slaves in Adam's game, where it's like they all had this kind of common thing that they were attached to, but the way like arcane energy in the world sort of works in D&D is it can latch onto those things. So I think of things like Matilda, where she goes through so much stress, it unlocks something else. like it unlocks her like abilities. But you can have that with a group that shares a common thing. You know, maybe it might unlock some sort of sorcery or something. People that are attached to this brand or this mark because it goes with this particular stress or this particular whatever they're experiencing.
I'm fairly passionate about having tattoos in the games, and one of the things I am always very attentive to is our real world cultural, like how our real world cultures approach tattoos very differently. Mm-hmm. Like a tattoo to a Russian is vastly different than a tattoo to a Japanese person, which is vastly different to a Samoan, which is vastly different to a Valley girl in Southern California.
Right, exactly.
Well, it's even beyond that, right? Because it's class based even when it comes to like North America. There's the upper class frowns upon them, the lower class where it uses them as a badge of honor almost, right? And the middle class gets tramp stamps and thinks they're fun. So
well, you look at Russian, some Latin American cultures, some Japanese, like the Yakuza level gang tattoos, and they all mean something like almost a roadmap of what this person's willing to do for their organization or what they have done. Prison tattoos, that kind of stuff as well comes into this, where like you see a guy walking down the street who's got a teardrop tattoo, that means something a whole lot different in in North America than it does anywhere else in the world. So like you kind of have to look at our real world examples of tattoos, which is incredibly varied all throughout the cultures, and apply that to your D&D games in some way, shape, or form. Like I see I like to kind of draw cultural analogs in the races in D&D, at least loose ones. So like I view Goliaths as very Samoan in their origins because they're all about the tattoos and these tribal tattoos that move them, that really show their status, show their pride, their connection to their tribe, all these things. And I love doing stuff like that. I also love if I have a player who has been tattooed in the past, or been imprisoned for some reason or other, get tattooed by that prison, either from an inmate or by the warden and the system themselves. Like there's so many different things you could do with this. What about this also allows you to get creative in that imagine using it as like a language. Imagine the tattoos being like thieves' cant. So who understands the meaning, right? Who understands the meaning behind these tattoos compared to who does? Like my old character, Titus, the noble, he's going to have no idea what the prison tattoos on a person's body do, as opposed to my other character, Solomon, who is definitely going to understand that. Just using my own sort of character as an example there.
Now you've inspired me for Thieves' Cant to be like, you're covered in bits and pieces of tattoos, and as you put your hands together, like your fingers are covered in tattoos, when you put them together in different formations, they'll actually create shapes and symbols, right? Or you cross your arms and it creates, instead of each arm having like a half moon, it creates the one full moon.
Exactly.
Right?
Or being able to know that you can automatically or most likely be able to trust somebody just from a perception check, right? If you have that knowledge, maybe a history check or whatever, or knowing that somebody is going to be a threat, or it's just a whole new line of communication as well.
Yeah, like when you see that teardrop tattoo, you have to walk up to them and ask why they're sad. Right, exactly. That's what it means, right?
It's the mistake that I would make. Yeah.
All right, let's get into do you guys have any final thoughts before we get into the nitty gritty?
No, let's do it.
All right, so in the UA, I'm going to read most of this verbatim just so that I'm very clear about it, because it's a brand new mechanic. The idea here is that you are blending magic and artistry with ink and needles. The magical tattoos imbue their bearers with wondrous effects and abilities that are initially bound to magic needles, which transfer their magic to a creature. And you'll see repeatedly over and over again with this, that when you use the tattoo, or when you use the needle, it becomes ink itself and imprints upon your body. It's not like there's ink within the needle. It's almost like it's like a sewing needle, I would assume, right? Because there's no ink component, not really. The designs of magic tattoos vary greatly in appearance depending on who created it, but they share general characteristics that hint at the effect of the tattoo. So, I mean, if you got a tattoo of a tiger, it doesn't, like, it's going to summon a Rakshasa or a tiger. It's not going to summon a Kenku, right? It's going to be somehow linked. But once inscribed on a creature's skin, damage or injury does not impair the tattoo's function, even if the tattoo is defaced. So I guess you're imbuing yourself with this, and the tattoo is it acts as what, a magical component, essentially, or just an indicator of the fact that you have this magic imprinted upon your physical being.
Yeah, it's more like a receipt than anything else.
That's how I'm going to see all tattoos from now on. I'm just going to see them as signatures. Like, this artist was here.
Signature would have been a better. Yeah, artist signature would have been better than receipt. We'll cut that.
So,
there's too many times on this podcast where I've heard myself say weeks later, we'll cut that. That's gone.
The rarer a magic tattoo is, the more space it occupies on a creature's skin. All right, so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it. The Magic Tattoo coverage table offers guidelines for how large a given tattoo is. So there are the 5 different kinds. They've really turned these into magic items.
Yes.
For all intents and purposes, they're magic items. You have common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary. A common tattoo is up to 6 inches. Interestingly, it doesn't say 6 inches square. So I'm like, is it a line? Is that, I guess, 6 inches in one dimension?
Yeah.
Minimum?
Well, it says area, so I mean,
I would assume so.
I would assume it's squared, right? Like 6 inches squared, because that's
yeah, I think it. And again, it's not specific enough. I imagine it means what Adam said, 6 inches in one dimension. You know, like a diameter of 6 inches.
Yeah, the only reason I'd say it's not 6 inches square is because that's essentially 2 inches by 3 inches. That's
right.
Pretty freaking small.
Yeah.
And when you look at the rest of them, they're all pretty big.
Well, the only reason why I would make the argument that makes perfect sense to me is because you have so many. Like, I've got a tattoo that is about 6 inches worth of square, or 6 inches worth of area on my arm of the base clef symbol. That makes perfect sense as a quick little, like, these common ones are almost one use only tattoos, so you don't want them to take over a lot of space. Yeah, they're temporary tattoos.
That's the other thing that I would bring up as well, is that I would add a certain amount of intricacy to it as well. Just covering your arm with 6 inches of red doesn't really count. Right? So, anyways, uncommon is half a limb, or specifically the scalp. They don't mention the scalp ever again, but I mean, fuck, why not, right? Why not? I like the idea of just getting a face of a halfling tattooed on my face. It's just slightly too small.
So your idea
so you do know
is
that
a tattoo of another race or creature, depending on the example, over your own face, like Zombie Boy?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe somehow get the representation of a Kenku face on mine.
I would like to point out, and I'm not sure if either of you are aware that this is a thing, but there are people who get, like, makeup permanently tattooed onto them.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And for me, I have been cursed with incredibly blonde eyebrows, and my wife keeps on joking that she's going to take me to go get my eyebrows tattooed.
Well, you can just dye your eyebrows, Dan. Like, you can color them. You don't need to tattoo them on.
Terry, stop it. Let him dye them on. Please, give this to me.
So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and just put this out there. I don't want them. I'm perfectly content with my face.
I'm sorry, Dan.
We're gonna talk to your wife.
We're gonna
talk to your wife. You're gonna get outvoted.
Dan, you're happy to go on living your life. And how old are you now, Dan? 35?
35.
Yeah. Looking like you don't have eyebrows?
Yeah, I'm happy
That's
with
fine,
this.
man. I love you.
I'm used to it at this point.
That's okay. It's all right.
Even though I look surprised all the time.
No, you look like you have no emotion.
All right, so the other 3, I'm going to go through this quickly because we're sitting here talking about Dan's face and nobody wants that. Rare is will cover one limb. I like that it says limb. It's not arm or leg. Because, I mean, for an Aarakocra, it could be wing.
Right.
Yep.
Very rare is 2 limbs, or the chest, or upper back. and legendary is 2 limbs and the torso.
What I like about this, Adam, is it kind of opens up another side to your perception checks now, right? If this becomes part of the game. So, okay, you roll perception, yeah, you roll 18, pretty good. You know, from a distance, you can see that this person is covered head to toe in tattoos. Is that now cause for alarm in the D&D universe? Because that means they have a very rare or legendary tattoo, magical tattoo. You know, is it going to start to change how we look at the way people are, like, decorated, essentially, within the game?
Yeah, the other thing, too, is how many class features say, well, if you study a person for 1 minute or 1 round or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of rogue stuff that lets you do that.
Right.
Well, maybe then you see that peeking out from their sleeve is a small corner of a tattoo. You don't know what it means, but because you've studied them, you now know they have the ability to do this, and that gives you advantage on whatever the next thing is, or however that mechanic works. So that can be a part of it as well. So any final thoughts on that before we launch into the next most ridiculous thing?
No, I like it. What I would like to say is that I like the fact that the size of the tattoo matters. I know that sounds like I'm going down a route that I shouldn't be, but I like it because it's just like having like a magic item. You can kind of tell if it's fancier or typically more powerful, usually. And I think in the spirit of fairness, it's good to see that if somebody's entire arm or leg is covered in tattoos, that's a good giveaway that they're likely going to be quite powerful, as opposed to you just walking into something unsuspecting.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think as well, there has to be a level of intricacy to show you that this is a magical tattoo, as opposed to just the barbarian tribe who likes to have big black swirls across their chest, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if you're gonna bring in, like, I would make them extremely rare, and one of the reasons why you get magical tattoos, in my mind, is to be able to, like, sneak them into places, sneak effects in. Like, in our current game, we had magical tattoos of our items that basically made our skin bags of holding, and we'd be able to get them in and out of places because of our items are things that were precious to us, were tattooed on our skin, and we were doing a prison break, and that's how we got all of our equipment and stuff into the prison, was we got it tattooed onto us. And I am of the opinion where if a magical tattoo looks extraordinarily magical, it defeats the purpose of a magical tattoo. Right. A magical tattoo is supposed to be something that has with it a certain amount of stealth, has with it a certain amount of subterfuge, because you have these tattoos to generate effects that people aren't going to expect because they look exactly like a normal everyday tattoo, right? So I would say if you looked at someone with, like, detect magic, you would see the lines through, or maybe for one of the more powerful spells, if it had, like, an ongoing effect that the tattoo generated, there'd be, like, this small magical pulse in the tattoo. But when nothing's activated, everything's sitting still on you, those tattoos look bright and colorful, but mundane.
Right.
I'm with you to a point. I would say that you should let your player choose, right? It should be up to the player, because I think that the rogue would have something that's very subtle. I think you're right. A level 18 rogue with tattoos would want those tattoos to be very, very subtle. But a glamour bard or a level 18 warlock who really has no fear of anything but has, Cthulhu tattooed across his chest, the tentacles down his arm, he's going to want that shit to glow. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, there may be some instances where the player wants those tattoos to be inherently magical, and I say give them the opportunity to have them look magical.
I just imagine that warlock player watching, the recent Suicide Squad movie, looking at Joker and going, "Oh, that'd be cool," and their character has, like, disturbed written across their forehead or some such shit. Just ha ha ha, and they touch it and cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Good band.
Or something.
What about the idea of I want to know what you guys think about this real quick, is if some common symbols or images tend to share, like, a common ability. For example, if you were a cleric and you were looking across the battlefield and you saw that an enemy had prayer hands tattooed on them, with a history, religion, or intelligence check of some sort, would you determine, usually prayer hands symbolizes some sort of divination spell, or usually an angel symbolizes some sort of protection spell? What do you guys think about common things within the tattoos?
I think that that's good from the same region.
Right.
If it's like the same custom in the same area. And it could just be how thick the line is determines the school of magic or what level of spell it is. We don't really get into that with these tattoos, but if you're homebrewing it, I really like that idea. I like the idea of like the Zone of Truth spell tattooed on your body allows you to cast this once, and it's a conspiracy theory, like 9/11 was an inside job, or Carol killed her husband, or something, right? Like,
whoa.
What?
Don't start talking about Tiger King because it will derail this whole podcast.
Right, okay,
Yes,
sorry.
we really, truly will.
All right, okay.
There's actually one more little aspect I would like to throw out there. A lot of these body modifications and tattoos have a positive effect. We did mention earlier slaving rings having the tattoos on them. What happens if your players get knocked out and then wake up in a ditch somewhere but have that subdermal implant that they could kind of feel sore around the neck, but they don't feel anything there that comes back to curse them? Or
I think... Sorry, Dan. I know exactly where you're going with this. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's a great plot hook. This is a cool way of making a curse stick longer, right? And having maybe this is what you get for breaking that deal with the devil or an archfey or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what you get when you break your oath as a paladin, right? Is the law drags you in,
like that,
and they fucking brand your cheek. And now you are an oath breaker, right? And you cannot take.
That's so badass.
I love that.
Right, like I think that there's a lot of really fun ways for people to embrace the idea of magical tattoos. However,
I love it.
It does say as well, once inscribed on a creature's skin, damage or injury doesn't impair the tattoo's function, even if the tattoo is defaced. Which means that I feel like the only way to get rid of this is an anti-magic field.
Yeah, I mean, so what about let's just look at a very small one. Common up to 6 inches. What about if I just cut that out of your flesh? That means it still works. Essentially what Adam said before is the tattoo is just a signature. Is that what that means?
Yeah, pretty much.
Not to get morbid, I would say it depends on the rarity. I am completely okay if you cut out the entirety of a tattoo from somebody. That's flesh that you are carrying around with you. Maintains its
like
power.
so it essentially becomes a scroll, Dan, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. However, if you were to cut out part of a tattoo, or like the way we did it is if our characters ever fell unconscious, that would give them some form of scar. Like if they died or whatnot, they would have some form of scar that would affect them. If there was like scar tissue over top of a tattoo, I'd let it permeate. Like I don't understand why it wouldn't continue with that kind of damage, right? So like if it's damaged, it still works. If it's removed entirely, either with a knife, yikes, or with a spell like you roll really well on a dispel magic or a remove curse, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I would say that it's a magical thing, so dispel magic or anti-magic field is the way to do it.
Yep.
I would say that.
Sorry, Adam, go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
Unless
I was going to say, unless for whatever reason the tattoo was the mark of a curse, not to go full Harry Potter, but I mean, to flip it the other way, that it's just a signature of a curse, then maybe remove curse.
Yeah, I would say that, look, the curses are so fucked up in D&D. That's a whole other episode.
That's right.
But I would say that this will protect your player who has, fate written across his knuckles, but has to reach into the pit of acid to pull out the magic item, right? This isn't going to undo the magic tattoo that he has, right? This is to protect players. Because as I'm about to bring up, this shit costs an attunement slot.
Yep. So if we're gonna talk about the attunement side of this thing, I both hate and love what they're doing and wish they would do it with more things than tattoos.
All right, let me get into the details of it. Here's what it says. I'm going to read it verbatim. So, to attune to this item, You hold the needle to your skin where you want the tattoo to appear, pressing the needle there through the attunement process. When the attunement is complete, the needle turns into the ink that becomes the tattoo, which appears on the skin. If you have multiple magic tattoos, they count as a single magic item with regard to the number of magic items you can attune to. If your attunement to the tattoo ends, the tattoo vanishes, and the needle reappears in the closest unoccupied space to you. So there's a couple of things to kind of pull apart on this. First and foremost, that needle, you hold it to your skin, you attune for an hour, so I guess you have to hold it in place for an hour. It becomes ink. You're not actually getting tattooed.
I dislike that. I dislike that so greatly.
Yeah, it feels cheap, doesn't it?
It does. It's a cop-out.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
It's not a magical tattoo. It's a magical needle that tattoos
Yeah,
you.
it creates too many... I think it should be similar to... Well, you know, like when wizards put spells in their spellbook, they need a certain ink, right, to do that. I think it should be like that. I think it should be more based on the ink than the needle itself.
Yeah,
I think they did it mostly because if you ever become unattuned to it, they need to have it not be on your person for some reason, and I still don't get it. This goes along with it being like a magical tattoo resembling a mundane tattoo. If you're not attuned to it, it's just not magical.
I agree.
It's still there.
I agree.
It's still
You're
a tattoo.
still carrying it in the sense that it's still tattooed on your arm or whatever. Like you're carrying it like you can carry a magic item. You're just not attuned to it.
Exactly.
I like the idea of you getting the tattoo. It is permanently a part of you, and then the needle itself imbues you and takes the magic from the needle and imbues this ink, this pattern, whatever it is.
Oh, no, okay. I like that as well. No, that's definitely what I would do as well, is if the tattoo exists and then in the attunement process holding this needle down, and then you can, like, if you were to describe this event happening or whatnot, the ink, the needle becomes the ink, which then refills out the lines of your pre-existing tattoo, adding a little bit more of a vibrancy. I wouldn't make it like an extremely noticeable magical effect, but the colors are a little bit sharper. Looks like a fresher tattoo.
Well, I would even say maybe it colors it in, and it's not an outline anymore.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, all that's just kind of flavor stuff. However you want to do it, I like that. I was a bit unsure about the needle idea, but it's for me. This is all flavor text for me. It's just how it feels right. Mechanically, it works the same either way.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's jump into the next part of the attunement. If you have multiple magic tattoos, they count as a single magic item with regard to the number of magic items that you can attune to. Do you like that?
Fucking love it.
Do you like it?
Fucking love it.
Okay, why do you like it?
Yes. Okay, so I like it because I hate the attunement system just as a whole, especially since you could already see them starting to pull it apart with the things that an artificer can do.
Yes.
But I love it because when you get higher level, especially if you are playing a martial class, your ability to kind of keep pace with the spellcasters and the wizards and the clerics and those guys is going to be based off magic items, and then you end up just juggling a bunch of things for your 3 attunements. I fucking hate that. It is such a pain in the ass. I mean, a wizard doesn't necessarily have to juggle magic items to the same extent as a martial item just to maintain power at level 20, whereas a fighter does, right? Especially since a lot of weapons require attunement.
Right.
So now you're juggling weapons based off the situation, like a wizard juggles their spells. It becomes harder. I love the idea of multiple items in a set taking only one attunement.
Yeah,
slot.
it's kind of like.
Sorry,
Dan, go on.
So rather than having 5 tattoos and then you're just activating 3 of the 5 as the situation depends, having one attunement slot for a set of tattoos or a set of items or a set of magical boons that you need to attune to, but no matter what, they only take the one attunement slot.
I kind of agree with you, Dan.
Variety
in the sense that, especially as you kind of go through the game, you start to level up, you start to get more powerful anyway. So the idea that when you get to like level 16, 17, even like 12 or 13, the idea that you're only limited to these 3 items doesn't really make sense, because at this point you're shaping matter, you're adjusting, you're doing divination and time-based things. It doesn't make sense anymore. It kind of makes sense that if you could stack them, you could be attuned to more things technically in the way that Dan's saying at one time. It makes more sense to me, especially because as we go through the levels, it's kind of like counting arrows, right? Like when you're level 1, 2, 3, it kind of gets forgotten. You're not going into that battle with that big battle, level 16, and your DM's going, oh, how many items are you attuned to right now? And you're like, oh, fuck, maybe 4. I can't remember. I haven't used this thing in 6 sessions anyway. Like, it gets forgotten. It goes by the wayside. So to scale that naturally, like Dan's saying, seems to make more sense to me.
I've always loved the idea, and this is just something that's been rolling around in my head for a while, of using the proficiency modifier as a amount of items you can be attuned
I like it. I agree.
Which means as lower levels, you only get 2 items. But that's fine, because magic items should be rare, right? But as you get higher levels, you could have up to 5. Now give the Artificer more because they're the magic item, like Swiss Army blade, sure, but like it should have a scale. It makes no sense to me how a level 3 character can attune to the exact same amount of items as a level 20 adventurer. Makes no sense.
You got me thinking there while you're talking about items with the set as well, because Adam used to have that Trip Willy deck that he played with me, and I was adding things as it went along, but it counted as one set. It's kind of like the Deck of Many Things does. And I like that, because even if we go down the road with this game and it's like, okay, if you're doing something as part of a set, if that becomes a rule, maybe it takes up 2 attunement slots. However, you can add as many things as you want to this particular set. But if something seems to go in like a common kind of set, I like that you should be able to continually add to it.
Yeah. I was a massive like World of Warcraft fan. I still am. I played a lot of Diablo and Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, and that idea of a set of items that you wear all at once, and there's a reason why you wear them. There's some sort of set bonus. If you wear 2 of them, you get this additional bonus. If you wear 3 of them, you get this additional bonus, is non-existent in D&D 5th edition because of this weird attunement rule. So I don't understand why you shouldn't be able to work around that.
Okay. All right. I've been quiet for a minute here, which never happens. I'm going to pipe in. A couple of things right off the bat. First and foremost, I agree with the idea for the tattoos, but I think you should have a maximum. I don't like the idea that you can just you can have 3 tattoos. Yeah. Or, let's say there are 5 slots. A legendary takes up 5. But you can have 2 commons and a rare, and that'll, whatever it is, right? I think there should be a mechanic for how many tattoos. Otherwise, there's nothing stopping me from just loading the fuck up. And that's my problem with this, is that if I spend downtime, remember, I haven't fucking earned this. I just went to a big city, found a magical tattoo artist, and spent gold, probably.
I can't wait to see the magical tattoo artist NPC either, by the way, in any game ever.
Well,
we've seen one.
Well, here's my problem, is that there's no inherent cost to getting this. This is not something you can just find in a dungeon. This is something you need to have done to you, right? And so I assume that there's just a gold cost. And if that's the fact, you guys know the economy in D&D is horseshit by tier 3, right? Like it's just thrown out the window. So if that's the case, then at tier 3, I'm just gonna give up 1 attunement slot to get all of these additional things. No, I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. There should be a maximum. So I like that there can be more than 1, because I think that your skin, your body, is the thing that you would be attuning to, right? That is the magical vessel. So there.
I think they. Sorry.
So there needs.
I think they.
All right, you go.
I think there is a limitation kind of put on it. And it's a shitty one, but it's the amount of skin you have. Depending on the size of tattoo you're getting, it takes up a certain amount of space, and they detail that. Well, so if you're getting a legendary tattoo and it takes 2 limbs and a torso, then you only have 2 more limbs plus your scalp, right?
No, but there's more than that, Dan, because what I could do is I could do 2 limbs in the torso for a legendary, then 2 limbs and get a very rare. But I'm also an Aarakocra, so I got another 2 limbs, so I'm going to get another very rare. I get the scalp for an uncommon, and I'll probably get 3 commons for my neck and face as well. That seems like overkill. I just think it needs to be kind of reined in a bit. I hear what you're saying. There is a mechanic.
This is a shitty amount of... Like, this a shitty mechanic for managing the coverage and the amount of these things you can have. It's a shitty mechanic, but I think that's why that Magic Tattoo coverage chart exists.
Yeah, I think
as an attempt for this.
I think you're right. I would like there to be a maximum number of tattoos that you can have. Let's say that there are 4 for a small size creature, 5 for a medium, 6 for a large.
Yeah, and you could even, for flavor text, because you know me, guys, I like to get sucked into the game, like, not so much the mechanics. So it's like, for me, it's like you can only have so much magic flowing through your body, you know, that you're holding on to that you can control. Like, it's maximum 3 tattoos, otherwise this is going to rip you apart like Lucy. Like, you can't just have this much magic inside you.
Yeah. So... I like this, but I think it needs to be reworked. It is Unearthed Arcana, so it probably will be. The last part of the attunement, just to touch on very briefly, was if your attunement ends, not if you use the tattoo. If the attunement ends, then the tattoo vanishes. And the needle reappears in the closest unoccupied space to you. Any issues with this? It sounds pretty standard to me.
The tattoo shouldn't vanish.
It's
a tattoo.
Right. If you are not attuned to it and you get the needle back, then the tattoo should inherently change by becoming lesser somehow, right? This is the mechanic. Whether I said that it'd be great to have like an outline of it and the color comes in when it's magical, so I guess the color would drain when you're no longer attuned to it, right? Otherwise, you're always attuned and you can never unattune from it. That just seems like a handcuff.
Well, it's one of those things where I would say it's always magical. It's always there. You just choose not to attune to it, so you don't get access to the abilities that tattoo would give you. It's still a magic tattoo, right? It's just like trying to decide between 4 magical daggers, right? It's the exact same level of shit. Like you just are making your choice not to attune to your tattoos that time. They're still magical. They still, like, if you were to cast a tech magic on that person, they're magical. It's just, it's kind of, they're always holstered, whether or not you're using them, right?
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying, Dan, and I agree with you to a point. You just hate the attunement so much, and I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the best things to happen in 5th ed. I think it's not perfect, but... I think that it is absolutely there for the customizability. This is what we get instead of prestige classes. So I like it.
Sorry, guys. I disappeared for a second because I was plugging my laptop back in because I accidentally kicked it out. I was going to ask, is the reason that, Adam, you don't like the attunement rule so much is because you view it from the point of the DM, because you've always played DM, where it's like, you know, you don't want players to be overpowered and you want some control over how powerful they're getting. But Dan, you have been accused in the past of being a min-maxer. Now, I don't want to comment on how true that is, but I'm saying, do you dislike the idea of attunement because you want to constantly be able to build your power and become as powerful as you can over the course of the game?
Look, honestly, I like the idea of attunement because I think that there should be a set number of freaking slots to do things.
Right.
Dan's complaint about there being a fighter with the magic sword, but the wizard doesn't need a magic sword. Yeah, man, I don't give a shit. The wizard's going to have a bracelet that lets him extend a spell slot, and that requires attunement, or like, so he doesn't have to use up a 3rd level spell. There's different things for different people. I think the game is inherently balanced, except for Rangers, but, you know, fuck Rangers. And I think that I need to see how broken the Artificer looks in real gameplay before I can truly comment on how broken attunement is. And hold on, sidebar. Then I believe that when they release this, they should release a 4th Artificer subclass, the Tattoo Artist.
I love it. That makes perfect sense to me. Dan?
Okay, so yes, I have been accused of being a min-maxer and a bit of a power gamer. I played heavily in 3.5, which led heavily into it, leaned heavily into that level of play with the amount of options you get as a character, and you would try to build powerful characters. That's part of the game for 3.5, for Pathfinder. It's all there. It's all part of the system.
How dare you bring up that dirty game?
But my main problem with the attunement system isn't the attunement system itself, because I agree with Adam where I would like there to be slots and there should be limits placed on the magic items. But I love weird, unique magic items in my games. I love having a lot of magic items in my games. I don't like how rare magic items are supposed to be in D&D because of my experience with 3.5 and 20 years of D&D saying I have a lot of magical items. I would like the attunement system to be there, but I wish it was expanded just a little bit more. Okay. Which is why, like, even at level 20, you have 5 slots because your proficiency is 5 rather than the 3. Like, there should be some scaling of the attunement system based off character level, because it makes no logical sense why a level 2 character can use as many magic items as a level 20.
All right, here's my logical sense for you, because my skill as an apprentice welder or as a master welder does not determine how important my soul is. Okay? Everyone is essentially created equal. Every person gets 3 attunement slots. And I think that the only reason that artificers get more than that is because they can see kind of beyond this limitation and they exploit it to a certain degree. That's why I don't think it should be involved with your proficiency. It should level with you. Maybe you should be able to get a blessing that gives you an extra attunement space. Or maybe you should get an item that can give you an extra one, right? You guys ran into a villain in your campaign who posed as an archmage, didn't have any magic powers. He just had an item that gave him infinite number of attunement slots.
Yeah.
Right? And he just had a shit ton of magic weapons. I see no problem with DMs homebrewing that level of stuff because it still respects the balance for the players themselves. So, like, I hear what you're saying, Dan. You want it to be more expansive. I'm always confused as to why we stop at level 20 in 5th edition. These are just limitations they put on the game, right? And I don't...
Well, it's you have to have a stop point at some point.
Yeah,
right?
and
you just do.
So I understand why you may want 4 or 5, but let's say I give you 5, don't you want 6 the next time you run into one, right? Like,
no, okay, yeah, but I mean, if there's a scaling to it, like if I started with 2 and now I can use 5, there's that scaling aspect to it. It feels like I've accomplished something. It feels like I've progressed. It feels like I have earned the ability to have more items.
But
so I don't think if you gave me 5, I would want, like, I mean, yes, I would want 6, right? But I would have far less ground to stand on than it just being a constant thing. Like, a person can only handle 3 attunements at a time. Full stop. And it doesn't matter what race, what class, what level, what anything you are, you get 3. Full stop.
Yeah, that makes it.
There's nothing else in D&D that is just that perpetual.
Yeah, there is though. There's the level 20 hard stop, right? There are definitely some things that are.
Well, there are rules for epic level play. There are rules out there for that. Official rules for that.
Where?
So like I don't see why they have this one hard limitation where okay, we're talking about attunement. Blah. It's just like it's a frustrating thing for me about 5th edition.
Attunement can set
it's probably my least favorite thing about right. Like it's probably one of my least favorite things about 5th edition D&D, which is why when I was reading these tattoos and the magical tattoos, I saw this idea of having sets, right? That would be my other workaround, is like a belt and a pair of pants and a sword that You can attune to each of them separately if you only want that one bonus, but you could also attune to the set to get additional bonuses or something like that. Having that aspect in there also gets around that, right? Because my guess is the reason why they only did 3 is because attaining magic items should be that much more difficult in D&D 5e.
Yeah, I honestly, Dan, I think that the attunement items are the items that you need to be attuned to. They should be rare. They should be rare enough in the world. Fuck the common, uncommon, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But it should be. They should be rare enough in the world that you're not running across them all the time. You should run into 5 of them your entire adventure. And so, yeah, you should have to choose between which ones you want to use at any given time. And I think that it's... I mean, if you wanted to get nitty-gritty about it, then level 20 wizard should have the ability to use magic items way more than a level 20 purple dragon knight would, right? But, I mean, you've got to be fair. You got to keep it balanced. The classes are already balanced, even at high level. They're just balanced in different ways for different things. The mastermind is not going to be as combat effective as, the sorcerer that chose all evocation spells, right? That's unfortunately that's the way it is, but the mastermind gets other boons as well for role playing, the same as the bard and whatnot. And so I mean, you're right, there's a thing here. I like the attunement because it keeps it balanced. Honestly, when it comes to tattoos, I would say that your limitation should simply be how much skin you have to put these tattoos on, and fuck the attunement altogether for these.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I like that.
I think I'm with you as well. You got me thinking now as well. Like I'm now imagining like tattooed dragons. I'm imagining the black dragon that's tattooed with the voodoo skeleton all over its body, and obviously one limb for a dragon, according to these rules, is one limb for a halfling. But I like the idea of just enhancing that power if you have a bigger canvas as well.
Yeah, and I think that should be how they look at this in the future, because I know that Wizards listens to this podcast. So,
God, I wish. Where's our kickback? Damn it!
I don't think they're giving us kickback. They're not giving us kickback.
They're going to serve us for copyright infringement.
Wizards of the Coast started COVID-19 to shut this podcast down.
We're made of tougher stuff. Damn it!
So let's get into the tattoos themselves. I'm going to read through what they all are, and then we will each have a turn to give a quick opinion on it.
Sure.
We're already running like an hour for this, so let's try to... There are 11 that we got to go through, so let's try to keep this relatively short and sweet.
Sure.
But let's grab our dice and find out what order we'll be speaking in for every one of these, okay? So we're only going to roll once.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so let's roll initiative.
13.
I got a 16.
I rolled a 19.
That has never happened, Terry. You have never rolled
Adam
above a
immediately
12.
knows this is a lie. He thought I set him up earlier when I said I rolled a 10. That's because I didn't really care about that question. This one, I magically rolled a 19.
All right. Okay, so let's go through them in order. There's the first one. We're going to do in alphabetical order because that's how they're presented.
Sure.
The Absorbing Tattoo. This one is very rare. And that means that it takes up one limb. The tattoo incorporates designs that emphasize one color more than others. While the tattoo is on your skin, you have resistance to a type of damage associated with that color, as shown on the table below. And there's a D10 table with all the different damage types: acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, and thunder. Those are the 10 different ones out there besides bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. They're not included. And they each have a color aligned or linked up to it. I don't like some of the color choices. Some of them, like fire is red, makes sense. I don't know why thunder is orange, but I guess I ran out of fucking colors.
Yeah.
Poison should be green in my head, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why it's violet. Sure, whatever.
Because acid is green.
Apparently.
Which acid should be black and violet should be necrotic, like that, or gray. Why is gray not on here?
Yeah. So anyways, where's my fuchsia? God damn it. Anyway, so
these are completely messed up. I would swap poison and acid with green and violet straight away. I would even say psychic violet. But anyway, we could argue about that all night.
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll do that in another episode where we will argue about what color are the damage types, what color is each school of magic as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so the absorbing tattoo, the DM chooses the color or determines it randomly. Before I even continue, guys, that's bullshit, right?
Yeah, I don't like that straight away.
Yeah, fuck.
Because I might go to a magical tattoo artist and be like, yo, I am fighting a green dragon. I need resistance against poison. Like, it can't be like, whoa, sorry, radiant.
Yeah, you're not walking into a tattoo parlor and saying, all right, so this great big thing that's covering my entire leg, do what you want with it.
Well, it's very rare as well because it's 2 limbs, right? Very rare is 2 limbs.
Oh yeah,
or,
you're right.
Or your chest piece, or like, so this is a significant amount of real estate given up to a GM going, I don't know, fucking thunder, sure.
Exactly. Or like, if you need lightning, like, or whatever, so like, I imagine the tattoo would have like some similar design based on what you're doing, like a thunderstorm maybe for lightning. You'd be like, look, and then like 4 hours later you come out and you're like, I've got those old like new metal flames like up my legs now, like those black shirts used to have the flames of them. Like, that's not what you wanted. Like, I don't feel like you're going to get a random tattoo.
I love the idea of you wanting to get like resistance to lightning, for example, and you have lightning drawn up your leg, but then they color it in green, and so it's acid. Like, fuck,
Gross.
Right. Anyway, here's the effect. When you take damage of a chosen type, you can use your reaction to gain immunity against that instance of the damage. So it only works once, and you regain a number of hit points equal to half the damage you would have taken. So if I'm resistant to poison because I've got a fucking violet tattoo on me, and they hit me with 10 points of poison damage, I am immune to it, I don't take it, and I heal 5 points. Once this reaction is used, you can't use it again until the next dawn. I'm totally fine with the until the next dawn thing. I like that. The once a day thing is fine. One reaction for one specific thing seems a little steep for a very rare tattoo.
Well, I mean, you also have resistance against that thing, right? It does say, while the tattoo's on your skin, you have resistance to a type of damage associated with that color.
Yeah, that makes it a little more powerful. Terry, you rolled first initiative. What did you get?
I like, other than the whole color thing, like, so when you take damage to the chosen type, you use your reaction to gain immunity. You get the. Yeah, I mean, I guess that the spell itself, like the effect, I don't have a problem with. I just don't like the randomness part of it, because for something, when it's, when this is a wondrous item, very rare. For that, I need specifics. I need, hey, this is important to me. I specifically need this type of damage or this type of effect. I think when you get into an item of that, especially when you're running into very rare items, you're at the point in the campaign where there's specific things you're trying to achieve, which is usually kill the big bad that is linked with psychic damage or is linked with radiant damage, not acid. So I don't like the random part is the only part I don't like. But it's the main part.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I don't have really anything else to say except regaining half of those hit points back. Sure, that's great when they're flinging fireballs or dragon's breath. Sure, but a lot of the stuff out there is add 3d6 poison. So I'm recovering an average of 9, 10, 9, well, somewhere around there. That seems very little.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm going to add a caveat in on this thing, because remember, you also have resistance against that type. So only against that type is the only thing you can do this reaction to. So if you get hit with a fireball and the fireball does 40 damage, you have resistance. So you take 20. Now you're going to
regain 10.
Use your reaction to get the thing. So you gain 10 hit points. Right? It's adding too much fucking
and this
math.
is the way it's going to go, right? It's like, oh my god, I found this item, it's great. And like Adam runs his games fairly, so maybe you might decide to do this randomly, and so you're not like being seen to screw somebody over, but it's like, okay, I've got this item, let's do it. We're in the desert. Okay, you rolled that it's going to affect cold damage. I'm immediately going to unattune to that item because now it's useless to me. Okay, well, fuck this. I don't want that. I know I'm going to go against a blue dragon most likely in the desert. That's got nothing to do with me. I'm immediately going to unattune, and so the excitement for this item is gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Terry.
Yep, 100%. All right, are we good?
This one's horseshit. I hate this one. This one's horseshit.
Nice.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind the resistance thing that's attached to this, but we'll see it a couple more times later on.
Yeah.
With other tattoos.
I don't mind the resistance. I mind the level. I mind the absorption ability.
Yeah.
And the randomness.
It's the DM interference that bothers me here. You should just be able to choose. Spend your gold and choose for yourself.
Yeah.
Then I'm fine.
Yep.
Right? If you gain some hit points every once in a while, sure, cool. You get to be immune to one big fuck off attack, and you can choose, because it's your reaction, when you're immune. Yep, that's great. I think that's awesome. It's an even better version of shield, plus you're resistant.
Yeah.
Right? Sure.
Also,
I'm into it.
When you kind of go in with strategy as well, you never really count the idea of gaining hit points as part of your strategy. So if I'm like, okay, we're going to go do this, with this thing, I'm not going to go, oh, well, if we get lucky, I might gain some hit points here. That doesn't enter my mind. It's like, how do I stop myself from losing them? So just flipping the mentality like that, I think it's very unlikely that I'm going to use this item unless the 1 in 10 chance it lands on exactly what I need it for. Otherwise, this wondrous item is just getting forgotten.
Or, you know what? Or I'm picking this when I know I'm going to the plane of fire.
Yeah.
And I have some control over it, so I want to be resistant to fire, plus immune once. So when the hit would drop me to 0 hit points, because I only have 3 left, instead I gain 6. That's mildly useful, right? But I mean that's circumstantial.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm the only reason I'm taking one of these tattoos is if I'm a bear totem barbarian, and I want to get psychic resistance.
There you go. That's a great point.
Just because then I'm resistant to everything.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, on to the next one, though, because, man, we like to ramble. Barrier Tattoo. This one has a ranging variety of how rare it can be, and I'll explain why here. This tattoo depicts protective energy or protective imagery and uses ink that resembles liquid metal. Okay, that's badass. I'm into it so far. While you aren't wearing armor, the tattoo grants you an AC depending on the tattoo's rarity, as shown below. You can still use a shield and still gain this benefit. So, uncommon gives you a 12 plus your dex. Rare gets you a 15 plus your dex, and to a maximum of 2. And very rare gives you an 18. Remember, this does not stack with other ways to increase your armor class. So if you have multiple ways to calculate it, you can only use one of them. You get to choose which one to use, but what this is, to me, is essentially just another kind of armor without armor.
Yeah.
Terry, you rolled highest. What do you think?
My question is, how are you going to use this item without pissing off half the table or without it being redundant to half the table? So, if I'm the barbarian and I'm using unarmored defense, I'm going, I don't need a barrier tattoo, whatever, I'm already figured out, it's fine. But if you're the wizard, or the druid that's also carrying a shield, because remember they can carry shields, you now have an AC of 20, even though you're a druid and a caster, and the barbarian, the paladin, the fighter are going, fuck you, I can't cast spells like you can, but we're working with the same armor here. So I see what it's doing. Like it's about, hey, you can be heavily armored here, but it takes away the swings and roundabouts of the game where it's like, you give and you let go. Like the barbarian has a higher AC, the fighter has a higher AC because they can't do the other stuff, and likewise the wizard is the other way. This kind of takes away from that, which is now you have a very disgruntled paladin who's going, fuck you, I've got to carry around this armor, shield, and greatsword to match what you have in your pajamas.
Well, it's even worse than that, because these things don't give you disadvantage on stealth. This is better than heavy.
You're right, then. You are right, yeah. And I know it's a wonder sign. The rarity varies based on how effective it is, and I'm just looking at the very rare here of the 18, but I can't help thinking it's going to make for some disgruntled players.
Oh yeah, no. If I'm playing a fighter and we're trying to sneak through, and the wizard lets us all know that he's hit the tattoo parlor in town during downtime last week, and now we're going through, and he's got a higher AC than me, doesn't require the strength to get that AC, and doesn't have disadvantage on stealth, and is also still a wizard. Fuck you, buddy.
Exactly.
Just fuck
you.
you.
Your druid walks in his nightgown and his wooden shield and is armored up the same as the paladin in the heavy armor, and the guy's like, fuck you.
Like, this is a game of checks and balances. This tattoo does nothing but make spellcasters still more powerful, even more so.
Look,
I don't like it. I don't like it.
This is just another instance of power creep.
Power creep.
Here we are. This is the problem with the Unearthed Arcana. This is why I tend not to allow it in my games, is for exactly this reason. Because you're making the other players around the table feel like their choices didn't matter.
Yes. And I think what I like about magic items is, when you and Adam knows this, where when you hand the items out, Adam, and we kind of retrieve them, we kind of look and we read the recipe card or however you give it, we get excited, right? We're excited for each other when they get something cool. But I know for me, if I'm playing that martial class and then, the sorcerer gets this, I'm just thinking, fuck you. I'm not excited for you. That's not fun for me, because now what's the point of me being this character?
Here's what I would say.
I go, how do me as my warrior, how do I get that?
Exactly.
All right, here's what I would say. Here is my compromise, I guess. First, you have to get the uncommon tattoo in tier 1.
Right.
In tier 2, you can upgrade it to become, because you're just spreading it out, now it becomes a rare tattoo.
Yeah.
Now you get your 15 plus dex to a maximum of 2. Then in tier 3, you get the very rare, the bigger one. It's covering 2 limbs now. Great. Now you have an AC of 18. Everyone is up around there anyway, except for the really squishy wizard. And maybe the cleric and the paladin are just sick and tired of having to fucking stabilize the wizard.
What about...
Right? And everyone's just like, look, get a tattoo. Fuck off. Come on. That's it. We're getting the other sleeve done.
What about a sacrificing an ability score improvement or a feat for upgrading this? Like, is that a way that we can go with this game? Is ability score improvements? We know we can do feats as well, or can we do an upgrade to something?
Would you want to sacrifice an ASI for something that requires you to attune to it?
No, but I don't like this spell, and I don't like this item in the first place. But I hear what you're saying, but no.
I don't know. That's an interesting mechanic, Terry. I think you would have to look at it long and hard to see it. And remember, there are going to be some people like fighters that get their ASIs way faster.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I think the ASIs are built in and already balanced. I think that adding more to it... See, we're dealing with the concept of power creep and imbalance again. There will be some players that'll look at this and be like, for a druid, you say, Terry? Excellent, thank you. I will do this.
Yeah. Right?
And sure, that's great. But for those of us that are looking at the game design and from a DM perspective and balancing a table, this is, if I'm going to hand out the ability to get this, I got to have other options for other people as well. Maybe that fighter gets a ring that is going to let him cast a second level spell.
Well, even then, because I hear what you're saying, you're talking in spirit fairness, because even if you gave me that ring, this is how powerful this item is really. I'd be going, oh, so I get a ring for a second level spell, but that guy gets all his spells and my level of armor. It's so even then it seems unbalanced, and you're just thinking off the cuff there what you can do to make it fair. It's this item just seems so crazy for me. It doesn't even work for one shot. Imagine showing up to a one shot, Dan, and you're playing Oscar, and I'm like, hey, don't worry, I'm a level 17 wizard. I got this as well. Even in your one shot, you can be like, fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
All right,
like this would infuriate me. There's one last thing I do got to say about this though. It resembles liquid metal. Would a druid use it?
Yeah, because it's not metal. It resembles liquid metal.
Okay.
It specifically is not metal, otherwise it would say, this is liquid metal. Right?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so, the Coiling Grasp Tattoo. This one's uncommon. This tattoo has long intertwining designs. While the tattoo is on your skin, you can, as an action, cause the tattoo to extrude into inky tendrils, which reach for a creature you can see within 15 feet of you. The creature must succeed on a DC 14 strength save, or take 3d6 force damage and be grappled. As an action, the creature can escape the grapple by succeeding on a DC 14 strength, so there's another DC 14 athletics or acrobatics. The grapple also ends if you halt it, no action is required for that, if the creature is ever more than 15 feet away from you, or if you use this tattoo on a different creature. So, Terry, how do we feel about this?
Uncommon item. See, it seems fair here. Because yes, it requires attunement, but it's uncommon. It doesn't seem overly powered to me. 3d6 force damage. DC 14 strength seems fair enough. I actually don't mind this one because it's good. It's going to be useful. This is the type of item I like to use because I like ranged things. Like I like to use glaives and whips and weapons where I have a little bit of reach. And so this gives me that, but it's not overly powerful. 3d6 force. DC 14 seems fair. It's uncommon, but it requires attunement because it's powerful enough where it's like you don't just want everybody to have this all the time. They have to think about it. So I don't mind this one.
Honestly, I'm the same way. I like this. Whenever somebody says, "Oh, magical tattoos," I think of tentacles coming off of my skin and grabbing people.
Sure.
I don't know why. That's probably Suicide Squad, right? Like, but this is exactly what I think. I wish this one scaled. Honestly, I wish that the DC and the damage would go up as you make it higher, like higher rarities.
Oh, and the grand leader of the cult of the Kraken has this as the big bad at the end of tier 1 or tier 2 or something would be awesome.
Yeah, but honestly, a DC 14 strength seems a little low by the time that you're level 13.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Right, everything's going to break that, right? So,
I guess I'm the negative Nancy today because I hate this. The 3d6 force damage on a use it whenever you want as an action ability that is only an uncommon rarity feels unbalanced to me when you look at other uncommon magic items.
Is it too powerful?
Yeah, it's too powerful. This needs to be rare or
you're
higher.
probably only going to be causing
That's the only thing I would do to change it.
9 damage most of the time.
Yes, but you could do it whenever you want. You have a 15-foot reach whenever you want.
Yeah, but honestly, I hear what you're saying, but the ranger has a 120-foot reach, doing roughly 9 damage whenever they want by level 6 as well, right?
Yeah, but comparatively, this compared to other uncommon magic wondrous items. So you compare this to a level 1, like a +1 weapon. I take this over a +1 weapon any day.
Okay, you know what? All right, I'll meet you halfway, Dan. If it was 3d4 with 14 strength, and then for a rare, it's 3d6 with 16 strength, and for a very rare, it's 3d10. Maybe it's I don't know. Honestly, this should scale. I would want this to scale.
I hear what you're saying, Dan, and Adam kind of did a compromise there. He said 3d4 force damage, and that got me thinking. If we're going to scale this down, at that point, I'm just using Magic Missile anyway, because it auto hits. So I think the 3d6 is there because there's that that risk of them not hitting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's way too much like battlefield control because now not only are you doing damage, but you're also grappling and stopping something from moving.
It's the fact that you are doing damage and grappling, and it's 15 feet away, which nothing in this game has a 15-foot range on it, right? So
whips. It is a tattoo whip.
So but I mean that's it, 10, right?
Whips are 15. Really? Whips are 15, but they only do a D4 damage. Right? So it's like this is a massively better whip.
Yeah.
Right? And it's as an action. You don't have to worry about unsheathing a weapon and pulling your whip out. You just do it.
Yeah, and you kind of
Dan, it's only 10. Oh, whip is only 10. It has the reach.
This is way more because that almost changed my mind there when Dan said whip's 15. Because I was looking at that like, okay, well a whip that does the DC 14 strength save and the 3d6 force damage as uncommon, that's too powerful. But if a whip is 10, then I'm sticking with my original answer.
Well, no, that means that it's even more powerful than a whip, right? Because it has an extra 5 feet. So here's it. Whip has the reach property. So, and what reach means is that the weapon adds 5 feet to your reach when you attack with it. So, I mean, if you're a bugbear, it has 15, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
But no, this one is powerful. I would like to see it scale better, but you're right. I'm going to grab this every time. For what it is, I'm going to grab this. It feels to me like there needs to be a barrier that the players have to cross before they get their tattoo. Each tattoo, an uncommon, needs to be worth 1,000 gold pieces. Something to really stand in the way. And then once you do that, fine. Go nuts. You've earned it.
And I think
I would not hand these out for free. They all seem overpowered.
No, I mean, because obviously D&D is a fantastical game, but it's like, in reality, how much are you going to pay to get a magical tattoo. You know, like, you're going to pay a lot of money. Dan was right in what he said before on D&D and magic's kind of everywhere, but it's also uncommon in the game. Not everybody in Waterdeep is walking around chucking magic missiles everywhere. So if you're going to...
I'm willing to pay up to and including 3 gnomes for this.
Well, no...
Depends on the 3 gnomes.
Sure.
They make Rice Krispies is what they do. Next up is the Eldritch Claw Tattoo. This one is uncommon. This tattoo depicts claw-like forms and other jagged shapes, and while the tattoo is on your skin, your unarmed strikes are considered magical for the purpose of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magical attacks. I'm going to say that again. Overcoming immunity and resistance. You also gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with unarmed strikes.
Right.
And on top of that, you can, as a bonus action, empower the tattoo for 1 minute. For the duration of that minute, each of your melee weapon attacks can reach a target up to 30 feet away from you as tendrils of ink launch from your weapon or your unarmed strike toward the target. In addition, your melee weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 force damage on a hit. Once used, this bonus action can't be used again until the next dawn. So you always get to overcome the immunity or resistance to non-magical attacks, and you always get the +1 bonus to attack and damage with unarmed strikes. And then, essentially once a day, as a bonus action, you get to add this crazy 30 feet away tendril attack that does 1d6 additional force damage to what your melee weapon attack does. Terry, how do you feel about this?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I felt, which was I immediately got excited by this item. The problem with that is I know that it's overpowered, because I was thinking from a player's perspective. I was like, this is so awesome. If I have this, I'm going to absolutely slaughter everything. Which means for me it's overpowered. And again, I look back, I'm like, okay, it requires attunement, cool, but it's uncommon. But I can now essentially stand in the middle. Let's be honest about maps and stuff. I can now essentially stand in the middle of the battlefield and I can reach everything. On top of that is I can now do an additional 1d6 damage. And now this is a bonus action, and it lasts for up to 1 minute. So that's 10 rounds. That's an entire battle. I can't think of the last time I had a D&D battle that went over 10 rounds. So for that, it feels overpowered to me, because now you've got this annoying prick that stands in the middle and just hits everything, and for extra damage, so you're annoying the DM. On top of that, that person is likely going to be, I don't know, the fighter or the paladin or something like that. It causes that tension between the players as well, because, I know what it's like as a martial character when you're running around, you're trying to hit stuff. I remember playing when we had a very powerful monk before. Maybe it was just, strategy and things for me, but I remember thinking, Jesus, man, she can run all this way, she can kick and punch 10,000 times, she can do all this damage, and I've only got these 2 attacks. So I think if I had a player that had this item, as another player, I might feel some sort of envy. But as a DM, for an uncommon item, this just feels very powerful. They can shape the entire landscape of the battle just from standing in the middle and hitting whatever they want for extra damage.
I think you're absolutely right. Also, I think it's just fucking ridiculous that you can hit someone 30 feet away with your melee weapon attacks, and you do your regular melee weapon damage and an extra 1d6 force, which means all of a sudden my greatsword can now hit that guy way the fuck over there.
Yeah,
I don't understand how that. Like, is the ink is the tendril coming out, taking my sword, and swinging it way the fuck over there? How does this work?
Yeah. But here, another thing as well. To quote a great man, it was Dan. Dan said in one of the Ranger episodes, and it stuck with me, is when you're overly specific in some things, you cause ambiguity in others, and it stuck with me whenever we look at these rules, is it doesn't say anything about you being able to see this creature that you're hitting. So now, I'm in the dungeon crawl or whatever, and I've seen him, he ran around the corner, I'm going to try and hit him. Oh yeah, you hit him because he's over there. Okay. It's very vague, and it seems overly powerful.
Yeah. Dan, are you on the same page with this?
This is an uncommon magic item sells for between 500 and 1,000 gold. This is a 500 gold monk, but that's better. So I think you understand where I'm at with this. This is another like, I was on board with this tattoo until the Eldritch Maul ability.
Yeah, the first half of it was great. The
first half, I'm on board. Yes, good. Maybe as a rare item, not as an uncommon. But I can make arguments for uncommon with that, with just what it gives you at the beginning. Sure. Eldritch Maul, what?
Keep in mind as well, Dan, that this is taking one of your 3 attunement slots, so there is a price there as well, right? So I know you don't like attunement, but I mean that does give it some more weight, right? It is more costly.
It gives it some more weight. It makes it a little bit more costly, sure. But this is an uncommon tattoo, so it's what, the size of one limb? That's what an uncommon is?
Or my scalp.
Or your sorry, half a limb or a scalp. So you have this little half a scalp tattoo, or sorry, you have a half sleeve tattoo that lets you do this shit. You still have so much other surface area for you to do other things. You could build a character around this ability. Like, come on.
And can I?
Yeah.
This isn't an enhancement. This is a central character-defining ability that you could buy for 500 gold.
It sounds like it. I should be able to stack this with, say, my, Sunblade, my magic longsword or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If I was a fighter, if I was a straight fighter, I would take this. Then for a minute, every single one of my attacks can hit 30 feet away and deal an extra 1d6 force damage when I hit. Go champion fighter. Okay, so that's going to be 2d6 if I roll a 19 or a 20 on 5 attacks. Sure. Oh wait, no, I accent surge. Like, come on, guys. Like, this is ridiculous. For 1 minute,
I do want to say
to activate.
I do want to say, if I was going to take this, I would have the tattoo on my crotch, so that tendril comes out, and I'm just standing there grinning at people while I'm whipping everyone 30 feet away.
A school of Valor, or sorry, College of Valor. Bard.
Yeah, College of a glamour bard. If a glamour 100%. Bard's doing this, he's just swinging around. Freaking fireworks and stuff are going off. It's great.
Somebody get me a College of Lore bard. He needs to write this down.
Just hitting absolute mega high notes as well when you do.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else on this one?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is the Blood Fury tattoo. This is my favorite name. This was also the only legendary one. So keep that in mind too, because it feels a little hefty, but this is freaking legendary. The tattoo evokes fury in its form and colors. While the tattoo is on your skin, you gain the following benefits. Your attack rolls score a crit on a d20 roll of 19 or 20. So already that alone is superpowered. You get 3 things with it. Additionally, when you score a critical hit against a creature, it takes an additional 4d6 necrotic damage, and you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the necrotic damage dealt. And then on top of that, even when a creature you can see damages you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature with advantage on your attack roll.
Oh my goodness. This is
that's all the time. You don't activate this. It doesn't last for a certain amount of time.
Right.
This is always.
Now,
this is the tattoo that I give to someone at level 18.
Right. Here's the thing though, Adam, as well, is it doesn't state here, does this include magical attacks? Because it just says your attack rolls score critical hit on d20, 19 or 20.
Well, when you cast, let's say, Firebolt, for example, you are making an attack roll.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if it's ranged attack or a spell attack or a melee attack or an unarmed strike. It doesn't matter. It's any attack roll. So not it won't work on saves, right? Because you're not rolling dice. If they've got to beat a DC for avoiding a fireball, there it is.
Right, but
that's it.
Now I have a champion wizard here with this. Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
So it's hugely powerful, but but it's wondrous item and it's legendary. So and it requires attunement. So I understand that. I can't say that it's overpowered in that sense. An additional 4d6 though.
I feel like by the time that you get this though, 4d6 is nothing. It's a drop of water.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, okay, what if I cast Disintegrate or something like that, and it's
and it's a 46 only when
Disintegrate's dex check anyway, but something like that, where I roll the hit, I get 46.
Isn't it a con?
Or whatever it is, but it's not roll to hit, is what I mean.
Yeah.
The part that really gets me is the fact that you can do a melee attack against a creature with advantage, essentially every round. If you're fighting some sort of mob or you're getting attacked no matter what, or numerous bad guys. And what this means as well is that you're much more likely to put your casters in harm's way when they're. I'm stuck with this one. I don't want to say it's overpowered because it's a legendary item, but it's very powerful. But I do like it.
This is going to be one of the most powerful legendary items at the table. Like, you compare this to the Sun Sword, and you would compare this to Black Razor.
I feel like you should be able to take
it is more powerful.
2 out of 3 of those bullet points, and it's okay. But the 3 of them, it seems a bit much.
Yeah. It's also another one of those ones with, like, ambiguity. Like, if a creature you can see damages you, you can make a melee attack against that creature. Right? Yeah. So, if that creature is 30 feet away from you?
150 feet away. And they rolled at disadvantage with the crossbow.
Yeah. If you damages you, you can use your action to make a melee attack against
it. So, like, it doesn't make it imply that it's supposed to be next to you. But they don't say that. They just say you get to make a melee attack against that creature that you can see.
Yeah.
There's no within range.
Yeah, but another rule comes into play.
The other thing that's...
You can't just say, because you can see you can make a melee attack, because the other rule will kick in that, you have to be within 5 feet, typically, to make the melee attack. So it's like, it just doesn't state the other rule which would come into play, but I see what you're saying.
I don't know.
Sure, this
rules lawyers are going to fight you on that one, Terry.
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
This gives you as a player a tattooed legendary action.
Yeah.
Once a turn, if something's damaging, you get to take an attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird about this one to me is that it doesn't tell you what the tattoo itself is doing. Like, I want it to swirl or boil or turn red or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it evokes fury.
Right. No, yeah.
That's clear as mud.
No,
it evokes fury.
Only that tattoo looks like fury in its form and colors. But while the tattoo is being activated from this thing, like, there's nothing about it. Okay, fine. Sure. So I get a giant... I get the Tomb of Annihilation, like, open mouth head on my chest, and it's bright red, and that's it. It never does anything.
Yeah, no, again, this is way too powerful. This is... I like that it gives you the critical hit on a 1920. I like that it's... I even like when you score a crit, you get additional damage and heal. I like that too. That last ability needs to be redefined. Of all the abilities we've read so far, I like this one the most. It is still very powerful.
Look
on the two.
Yeah, it's almost
side.
like...
I would say, honestly, this is on your DM. If your DM allows you to have this nonsense... That's on them.
Yeah.
Because I, as a DM, would hand this out. This becomes available to you at level 18 when you already have your 3 attunement slots filled with another couple of items that you're always humming and hawing over. Now this comes on the table. Well, you need to put away that giant helmet with the peacock feather at the back of it that's been your defining thing for the last 8 levels. You may have to give that up because you get this shit instead. I think a lot of people would not take this at high levels, despite the fact that it is so damn powerful. And also, by the time that you're getting this, I mean, how many ridiculous melee fights are you getting in, or combats at level 18, 19, and 20? You're wrapping up your campaign. If your DM gives this to you at level 11, that's your DM's fault, right? So I don't have as much of a balance problem with this. The higher levels you get, the more you deserve crazy shit.
Yeah, it's got to be very high level. I know it comes with legendary anyway, but it's Adam's right in the sense that too early is not going to work, and it's not going to work for most of the party. Like, you know, I'm fairly fair with everybody, but you don't want your wizard showing up with this. But at the same time, if you're getting this at higher levels, okay, so you get you get crit on 19 or 20, totally cool. You're level 17, 18, I don't care anyway as the DM. Extra 4d6 necrotic damage when you score your critical, totally fine. We're fighting the big bad at level 20, that's totally fine. And then even that point of where you can use your reaction to cause a melee attack, okay, do whatever you want. You know, as a martial class, you're probably going to do something similar with your reaction anyway, where you can. As a wizard, okay, you're making a melee attack, you're going to score your d6, absolutely fine. So I think it's just important that it's done at higher levels, where it feels exciting for the players, but it's not crippling for the DM, where they're like, okay, go nuts. And you honestly, am I right in saying probably at least level 14 or higher, probably 15 or higher?
I would still go the late levels, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
Even tier 3 feels really early for this. It would be absolutely fine for the first 2 bullet points, the increased crit range and the extra crit damage.
Yeah,
sure. I'm fine with that.
I'm thinking, how do you not piss people off doing it too early with this item? Because I'm thinking, I've been a level 14 fighter. I'm like level 14 fighter, and I've been there with, in our game with the level 14 barbarian. And if he got this instead of me at level 14, I'd be like, fuck you. But if I got it instead of him, I'd expect the same thing. But consequently, if the necromancer got it instead of either of us, we'd both be like, fuck you. So it's like you...
No. See, I would give this to the necromancer specifically because when they get the opportunity to do a melee attack against a creature, I mean, that is the most limp-wristed slap that they're going to
That's a fair one. I give it to the necromancer just for the occasional time that they get to do this. Oh, well done.
All right. Do we have anything else to say? We're all pretty on the same page with this one. Should we
here's when I get worried with these items. When I initially read them and I get too excited as a player, that's when I know it's overpowered.
Yeah, when you've got half a stiffy, we know that we should probably put this away, right? Yeah. We did speak about whips earlier, Terry. So are you okay? Do you need a minute to breathe?
I'm all right. So it's when Dan started talking about manacles. That's when I got excited.
How about womanacles?
Fuck off. Move on.
Manacles and tentacles.
All right. There we go. The next one is the Illuminator's Tattoo. This one is common. So this is our first truly common one. This tattoo contains beautiful calligraphy, images of writing implements, and the like. Well, I think this one was written by you, Dan, because it says, and the like.
And the like.
While this tattoo is on your skin, you can write with your fingertip as if it were an ink pen that never runs out of ink. This is the shit I want from tattoos. This is
I completely agree.
All right,
and also if it was written by me, it would say and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This even the first paragraph just seems so weird after the Blood Fury tattoo that we just went through, and now that's what we're reading here.
All right. As an action, you can touch a piece of writing up to 1 page in length and speak a creature's name. The writing becomes invisible to everyone other than you and the named creature for the next 24 hours. Either of you can dismiss the invisibility by touching the script, with no action required. Once used, this action cannot be used again until the next dawn. I'm cool with that. That's easy. That's fun. And remember, it makes it invisible. So if you can see invisibility, you can still get past this.
Okay,
right?
So let me make sure I got this straight. You write a creature's name, and it disappears.
No. As an action... No. You touch a piece of writing that's up to a page long, so you get like a scroll.
Sorry,
right?
Okay, I have it in front of me.
And then you speak the creature's name, and only you and that creature can see it.
Right, okay, I got it now.
Because the ink becomes invisible for 24 hours. Okay, so...
this becomes really awkward when you're in a town and the person you need to see this is like John Smith.
Yeah, or when everyone in the lizard folk tribe has the same name.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Now I know what.
I really like this one, but again, it's one of those ones that I think is. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping in front of Terry. It's one of those ones that the 2 minutes.
I was just gonna say it's and Dan, I'm gonna quote you a lot, okay? Because I think it's the specific.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Fuck! I can't handle 2 of you.
specificity.
Revenge, bitch.
Specificity was correct. There's, okay, 1 page in length. All it says is when you touch a piece of writing up to 1 page in length. Is this an entire wall? If there was an entire thing written on a wall, can I touch this? Is 1 page and can I make this whole thing disappear because I don't want somebody to see it? So there's a bit of ambiguity there. However, I like it. It's very fun. The problem is, this is a wondrous item. It's common, yes, but it requires attunement, where it's very rare that I'm going to use this ability. Maybe twice in the campaign is this going to be a time where I go, huzzah, I get to do this now. It's not going to come up too much, but because it requires attunement, it's something I need to plan ahead for. I can't be like, oh shit.
I think this... Now, I think that this is perfect for a intrigue level campaign. If you're doing sword and sorcery, probably not. But this would be ideal for your Call of Cthulhu level shit.
Right, 100%.
Right? I think this is a lot of fun at low levels before you have a whole lot of things to use up your attunement slots.
Yeah.
I think this is about right.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with this.
And I agree with that in there. It's got to be lower levels, right? Because it's got to be that. This is the type of thing, where somebody does it, like it's your cleric or your bard or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, well, I can do this, and hurrah. And everybody goes, oh, weird, that's cool, you can do that. But if you get to level 16, 17, and they're like, hey, we've been playing for a year now, do that thing. I can't because I've got that item attuned, where I touch the page and it disappears. Fuck you. We're trying to kill this, lich. Do this thing. Why are you still carrying that around? So I think it's one of those cool, it's like a gimmicky thing, which is good at lower levels. I don't like the attunement because it means you're kind of waiting for that chance to happen, or you're like, fuck this, I'm never going to use this, so I'm not going to attune to it. So I think it falls by the wayside. I think this is an item that doesn't. I think the attunement is crippling it. Just get rid of that, and you're much more likely to use it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the attunement on any of this stuff, but, for what it is, the attunement cost is probably nothing at low levels when you would be using this. This is the same thing as the fucking spyglass on the item list.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Everybody looks at it at low levels and goes, oh, that'd be really useful for a couple of roleplay things and a neat couple of flavor things that I really like, but I don't have 1,000 gold now. I'll wait to get it later.
Yeah.
And then when you have 1,000 gold, you're like, no, man, I got 16 fucking swords, and we have the ability to scry. I'm not picking up a spyglass. Why would I need that shit?
You're right.
Right? It's the same kind of thing. So, you know what? I'm fine with it because it's an interesting flavor option. Some people will use it a little bit, and then it will go by the wayside. Or when they've got a whole bunch of town time, or they're strategizing at later levels, and they've got, to pass a message from their pirate ship into the town, and it's got to be secret. You attune to it. You send the message, and then you unattune.
I would make this an ability
right?
that an NPC or an ally has that is known by the players, so when it comes up, that they might go and use that NPC for it. But even then, it's an in the moment thing, right? It's going to be like, for me, I know how I play. You guys know I play very chaotically. I'm going to be the type of player where it's like, there's the secret message on the wall for everybody to read. I'm going to be like, fuck you. I'm going to make sure only me and the wizard can read it, so nobody can read it. I don't have time to go back to the town to get the bartender to come do it. So
yeah. Dan, thoughts?
I love this ability. I hate the fact that it requires attunement for something so mundane. And so easy. The only other thing that I would say about this is, this as an act, and I'm gonna kind of echo Terry, the ambiguity in the 1 page in length. I could write really fucking small, right? How much fits on 1 page?
Honestly, as a DM, let's say that you bring that up. You say, look, there's 3 pages of information I need to get out here. I want to send pages 47 through 49 off to this person out of my journal, but I only have 1 page to do it in. What are you going to let me do? I'm going to be like, roll a sleight of hand check. Do you have calligrapher's tools? Tell me how you're doing this. There are mechanics set up so that you can be better or worse at cramming
that's
that
fair
in.
enough. That's fair enough.
So there you go. Honestly, I like this one. I think they should all be at about this level because people will use their attunement slots that are sitting there empty for the first 8 levels. They'll use it for shit like this. And then they will have to make a choice between mechanic or flavor later on. And I would say that a lot of people would stick with the flavor, the way that they have it in their head. A lot of people spend their time designing what color their jacket is. Of course, they're going to get involved in whether or not they have tattoos, right? So I'm okay with this.
The only other thing I'd want to say before we move on is this item is on par with a cloak that billows when you want it to, and armor that can gleam on command. Neither of those require attunement.
Right, but also neither of those can let you pass secret messages. Right, and that
Exactly. Yeah.
the other thing too about the secret messages, on one page or whatnot, can you apply that to a spell scroll? Because if you can, this becomes more useful.
Why not? See, this is what Dan said. Dan had it right when he said that about specificity and ambiguity. It's not clear. I think you should be able to.
When you are rolling up rules for a game like Dungeons and Dragons, you have to be clear, because there are going to be people out there like me who will find out what you're not saying and abuse it.
Well, maybe you should stop abusing yourself and other people all the time, Dan, and just play the game the way it's meant to be played.
What I've learned, and this is especially true to nerds, is people love correcting people. And if you get...
Actually, I would like
shut
to
up,
point
Dan.
out...
Fuck off.
Now,
All right, next.
Now, if you get a group...
Lifewell Tattoo.
If you get a group
it's
of
rare.
4, 5, 6, 7 nerds in one room, you put them around a table, they can't fucking wait to correct each other. So this is the perfect thing where they can't wait to correct you on.
Well, it really depends, Terry. Do you have 4, 5, or 6 nerds each? The ratio of correctiveness in that scenario needs to be clearly defined.
Dan, I'm gonna reach through this fucking internet and throttle you. Shut up.
It's fine. I'm used to it. Right. I have a Rottweiler and a French woman that disagree with everything I say all the time anyway, so it's totally fine. I'm used to this.
I've got a podcast where we tell them what our inbox is. I have enough arguments over rules all the time, regardless.
Yeah, fair enough. What's next here, Adam?
The Lifewell Tattoo is rare, and this tattoo comprises symbols of life and rebirth. While this tattoo is on your skin, you have resistance to necrotic damage. I hope that this symbol is a picture of a zombie giving birth. That would be what I would want. That's
gross.
Yep. So here we go. Resistant to necrotic damage is another resistance.
Okay.
I feel like the resistance is popping up a couple of times throughout these tattoos, and I'm okay with that. I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I like the idea of resistance.
I'm reading ahead,
but
I already know where this is going.
Yep, Death Ward. When you would be reduced to 0 hit points, you drop to 1 hit point instead. Once used, this benefit can't be used again until the next dawn. Terry?
Look, I'll go away for 20 minutes while Dan and Adam argue over this, and while stacking it with the orc ability and with the other ability that allows you to do this that I forget.
Death Ward. There's a spell. There's a number of ways to do this.
Yes. Rare. Sure, I like it. I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's overpowered. I think rare is just the right amount of level for where you're... I think Adam, it was you that said once is you die typically in D&D in early levels and late levels, and it's somewhere in the middle that you don't. Well, now we're talking later levels, right, where you're going to be looking for rare items, and I think that is the time when you're going to appreciate this, not dropping to 0 hit points, but dropping to 1 hit point instead. There's going to be a lot of multi-attacks and stuff, but there's going to be times where you staying alive is critical purely for the action economy, and me, and you guys know me, I very rarely think tactically. I just dive into everything balls first. But this is the time where I would think, okay, well, at least what's wrong with balls first? What's wrong with balls first, Dan?
Nothing. Just I think I'm going to listen through all of our backlog of podcasts just to cut out your little sentences that could just be taken out of context.
The reason you don't like it.
So I don't care what it is, but I dive into pretty much everything balls first.
Dan, if you're going to do that, I'm going to defend Terry on this.
Dan's trying to go
I'm going to make it.
You have to go which one hangs the lowest, which for me is the left one, I think, if I remember rightly, depends on what angle. That one and then the other one. Anyway, Dan, don't distract me. We're talking about the Lifewell Tattoo. Hey.
Look, hold on. If Dan is going to do this to assassinate Terry's character, I'm going to go and I'm going to find every time that Dan mispronounces a word. And we're going to even this
Shut up, Adam.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Because when he gets to later levels, when he gets to those critical moments, that 1 hit point is going to be critical, right? That's standing back up, whether it be for the action economy, whether it be for you to continue to be a target that takes an attack away from somebody else, and for it only being rare, where you can't be like, well, fuck you, I don't get enough for it being, like a legendary or whatever. I like this one. I got no beef with the Lifewell Tattoo.
I agree with you 100%. I think it's perfect, and I would absolutely love to see this on a half-orc zealot barbarian. This guy's just going to keep popping up over and over and over again. I think that rare is a little light. It's a little early. I think that this feels a little... it feels like it could be very rare, but then because of the resistance to necrotic damage as well. But...
yeah.
You're not running it... Honestly, not a lot of stuff has necrotic damage in Tier 4. Tier 3 has a bunch, which is when you'd see this, but it's not going to be super useful in Tier 4. This is around the time when you're going to run into your evil cult leaders that are actually throwing real necrotic spells at you and whatnot. So this feels good at this level. I like it. And the fact that you have to choose for its attunement seems balanced to me.
Yeah, I got no beef.
I feel like
I'd like to see this on a goblin bard's butt cheek. This tattoo. No?
Tell me a tattoo you wouldn't want to see on a goblin bard's butt cheek, though,
Fair
Derek.
one, but I like it.
My name.
Dan, I'm just going to include that in a future game. You're going to see your own name. The tattoo, the goblin pulls down his pants, and you see Dan written across his ass cheek.
So my opinion on this tattoo is it's the first one I have absolutely zero beef with. I love it. I was also, if you hadn't mentioned it, I was going to say a half-orc zealot barbarian with this.
Yeah.
Is choice.
Yeah.
This is the like clown punching bag that just like and he's back
I got
up
no
fighting.
beef with this one. I love the fact that all three of us don't have any beef with this because we usually, as you know, will argue for hours, but this seems truly balanced. Other than Adam, I think you're right. Rare, very rare. Whatever, whichever way you want to go, I'm cool with it either way. I like that one. I think it's fair in all capacities.
Yep.
All right, let's jump to the next one then, because we're pushing 2 hours already, guys. Who would have thought this would be our longest fucking episode?
Gosh. No.
All right, the Ghost Step Tattoo. This is a rare one. The tattoo shifts and wavers on the skin. Parts of it appear to be blurred. The tattoo has 3 charges, and it regains all expended charges daily at dawn. Oh, man. Let's not argue about charges, okay?
Yeah.
I know that it's another fucking resource to manage, but we've said that a million times. There's too many resources to manage already. But here we go. As a bonus action, when the tattoo is on your skin, you can expend one of the tattoo's charges to become incorporeal until the end of your next turn. For the duration for just that turn, you get the following benefits. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. Okay, you're incorporeal, that tracks. You can't be grappled or restrained. You're incorporeal, that tracks. And you can move through creatures and solid objects as if they were difficult terrain. If you end your turn in a solid object, you take 1d10 force damage. If the effect ends while you are inside a solid object, you instead are shunted to the nearest unoccupied space, and you take 1d10 force damage for every 5 feet that you are shunted.
We're talking rare, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking back to the effects that the Lifewell Tattoo has as a rare tattoo. For this, the Ghost Step Tattoo to be a rare tattoo, it seems too much. Now, I like the effects. I think they can be fair, and I think it can be done right. But rare is not enough, you guys. To become incorporeal, as we say in the UK, to become incorporeal, I'll be able to do. Sorry, I can hear you. It's very distracting, Dan. Actually, when you're laughing, it's very distracting.
Never laugh again.
Sorry, to become incorporeal. Bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical attacks. Can't be grappled or restrained. Can move through creatures so essentially to become a ghost, right? As a bonus action, and until the end of your next turn. Seems too much.
So in theory, you can pop it at the beginning of your turn.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get all of these effects for your first turn, or for the turn that you're in, and then at the end of your next turn, it stops. So you essentially can get this for 2 turns.
Yeah,
3 times a day.
This needs to be minimum very rare for me, because I'm going to be popping this into late levels, and as a bonus action, like, say if it was an action, where, you know, most people wouldn't do it during combat. You would maybe be like, oh shit, you can hear the dragon stomping, and I'll maybe do it now, and it lasts for 1 minute. Okay, as a rare item, that's fine if it takes an action. But to just pop this whenever you want as a bonus action, and the tattoo has 3 charges, so I can do this 3 times in a day. So essentially, if I'm fighting a big bad, or I'm fighting, you know, the boss of the day, I'm doing it 3 times, right? So I'm spending this entire combat incorporeal with all of these benefits as a rare item. That seems too much to me.
I understand where you're coming from. Honestly, the fucking Gloomstalker and Horizon Walker, when a ranger is more powerful at this point than this tattoo, which is taking up one of your attunement slots, and you're getting it early tier 3, and everything at this point is doing magical or elemental damage, right? This feels okay to me.
Feels okay.
Right? So for 2 rounds, yeah, this feels all right. You've given up an attunement for it. It's cost you a shit ton of money, and you can only do this for maximum 2 rounds if you remember to get this off early.
Yeah.
In the first one, right? I don't know. I'm all right with this. I also like the idea that you're not ignoring difficult terrain, right? So it's, if anything, it can make you move in a straight line, but it slows you down.
Yeah.
You're still probably going to go around things most of the time. If anything, if you stop in it, you are taking damage, so there's no benefit for you to stop inside a creature and do damage to it. Only you're getting hurt here.
Yeah.
I also like it because you can't be grappled or restrained for a couple of rounds. Sure, man, that's awesome. I love the idea of there being a kraken that grabs you and you just ghost step your way through it, right, to get out of this. That makes a ton of flavor because you're just going to make that save anyway, right? You're going to blow the Bard's Inspiration dice they gave you and roll with advantage somehow, and you're just going to get through it.
Yeah.
Right? That grapple at tier 3 it's not killing you. This is fine.
Yeah.
You're still taking full damage from magical attacks. I'm okay with all of this. Plus, it does say the word shunted in it. And I do like the word shunted. Speaking of shunts, Dan, what would you like to say?
It's a hard C. It's a hard C, Adam.
Yeah.
Shunt.
Wow. I was going to agree with you and say I have no problem with this, but since you're being a really big no, I'm not going to stoop to your level. Anyways, so I do like this.
See you next Tuesday.
I like this. I mean, I had to look it up real quick. Our last tattoo gave us Death Ward, which is a 4th level spell. And this is giving us basically Etherealness Light. Etherealness is a 7th level spell. But the other one's giving us resistance. This one, you're going corporeal. You're not technically ethereal. So, know what? I like it. I have no problem with this one whatsoever.
Man, I can't believe out of the 3 of us, I had the beef and nobody else did on this.
That's because you were sick and tired of watching the Horizon Walker wander around the battlefield for a few sessions there.
Yeah, that's true. But also, when I look at this, I'm like, I'm thinking back to the games, that I played with you guys. I'm like, if I was Titus or Solomon with this ability, I'd be all over this shit.
Yep. No.
Yeah, but remember, 3 times for 12 seconds maximum until the next dawn, right? So
it
is limited.
Oh God.
Nothing happened.
The only other note that I have is this is the only one that we've seen so far that has charges. We weren't going to argue about charges. I want to see more charges. That's it.
I think the charges, I think the idea of scaling some of these as well is good. But there it is.
Yeah.
And of course we all hate attunement. I think that if you pull the attunement off of it, then you should ramp up the rarity by 1 level minimum for each one of these, right? So, I mean, there's some consistent thoughts here all the way through it, but let's jump on to the Masquerade Tattoo. This tattoo is common, and it appears on your skin as whatever you desire. As a bonus action, you can shape the tattoo into any color or pattern and move it to any area of your skin. Whatever form it takes, it is always, mine's just going to say Dan.
and
it is always it's obviously a tattoo.
Okay, real quick. This is the mole from Robin Hood Men in Tights. Prince, Prince, whatever his face's name, like his face that just pops up and moves throughout the entire movie. I love this.
Prince John is in Robin Hood. Prince John is what
I almost
you're
said Prince Edward, and I was like, what the fuck? That's not right.
No. Russell Crowe did that right, though. Okay, keep going.
Hold on. There's more to it. It can range in size from no smaller than a copper piece to an intricate work of art that covers all of your skin.
The fuck?
It's always obviously a tattoo. And as an action, you can use the tattoo to cast the Disguise Self spell. Once you cast it from the tattoo, you can't cast it from the tattoo again until the next dawn.
Okay. Me first. It's a rare item. It requires attunement.
It's common.
For you. It's common.
It's common.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at Ghost Tattoo because it's across the page directly. It's common. And how many times a day can I do this? Sorry, Adam. I'm just looking real quick.
Once.
Mm.
Once for the Disguise Self. You can use an action to move it wherever you... Or, sorry, a bonus action to move it wherever you want and have it grow or shrink or whatever as a bonus action as many times as you want. But you can cast Disguise Self from it once until the next dawn.
It's the attunement side I don't like. Do I want attunement to cast Disguise Self once? Disguise Self is a very useful spell, but only in certain circumstances. And it's so conditional.
But remember, though, it's tier 1. How many items require attunement at tier 1?
Okay. Yes. Early levels. Yes, this is very good. Because it makes you think of the game a different way. Because if you're attuning to this item, because everybody likes to use their items apart from Dan, that likes to hoard them and never use them ever, and just make sure that nobody else gets them. Is that correct, Dan?
Motherfucker, what? No, I use my items.
Oh, I thought... No, you
I still
Terry's
hoard
right.
them. I still hoard them, but I use them.
So...
Dude, look, it's clear that Dan is a hoarding shunt. Anyways, continue.
It's a min-maxing hoarding hunt. Because it makes your players think along this line, right? So, okay, Disguise Self. I'm thinking creatively here. However, it is a throwaway item for me in the sense that as soon as something more attractive comes along, I'm getting rid of this thing immediately. This tattoo is getting removed. Because, yeah, for the first few levels, but also because it doesn't have 3 bullet points, it just has this one area, you can cast Disguise Self. You now have a character that is constantly trying to find a reason to cast Disguise Self because they've attuned to this item. So it causes creativity, but it also causes a limited behavior in that I would just constantly be trying to find a reason to do this.
Look, I'm all for this if I am in an urban setting or I'm playing an evil campaign. The ability to disguise self while I murder someone in a back alley is great. Also, the man had a giant lightning tattoo across his face. Did he? Right? Like, yes, absolutely. This helps me get away with shit. Right? Yeah. That's why I like it. I like it at early levels, because at later levels, I'm just going to get Dimension Door and, acid.
100%. And
I will just remove evidence.
At early levels, when you're like, urban campaign is going to be better, when it's, the blacksmith is going, it was the guy with the lightning tattoo on his face. But, I mean, you get to later levels and the lich is just going, the beholder is just going, I know it's you, dick. Like, you moved your tattoo. I'm not stupid. Like, it's in early levels, but I think it has its charm and it's fun, I guess. It doesn't excite me, I think, is what I'm trying to get to.
That's good. Remember, if it excites you, it's bad?
That's right. So they tell me, however, I keep going back to confession every week. Dan.
Yucky.
Dan, what do you got?
I hate it.
Why?
Well, yes, but also Masquerade Tattoo. The Disguise Self, it's like the spell does less than this passive ability does. Like the things you could do with a tattoo, I mentioned earlier, you have tattoo makeup. Guess what? You could do that with this too. So now not only it's not just like the dude with the tattoo of a lightning bolt on his face. It's the you can mess with like the shading of your face and bone structure on your face based off makeup and whatnot, and look like a completely different person with the passive ability. That takes a bonus action, so it takes less time than the disguise self to do. It's bonkers, and it's a common item. Again, this is on par with the cloak that makes it that billows, and the wand of the war mage, which gives you +1 to attack.
Can I also add in, Dan, there, just based on what you're saying, is that, because I'm always thinking about this kind of table politics, because this is a common item, right? Yeah, it's common.
Yeah.
It's taken away, so we're thinking early levels. You know, when the rogue is mega excited about their disguise kit or something, we're level 4. I can do this, and then whoever just goes, well, I've got this. And it takes away from that. You know, we say, well, it ends up getting to the point that nobody's looking in the Dungeoneer's pack. Everybody's fucking off the herbalism kit because these people are just doing this and that. It takes away from that in a way, right? Those early levels when you have those abilities or those kits that you're excited about, it just becomes redundant when someone's just doing lightning face tattoo.
I look at my charlatan background traits, my level 6 assassin ability, and this is better than those. And it's a common magic item.
You're going in, you're going to do the secret agent mission inside the ball or whatever, the masquerade, and it's like you're all excited about using your disguise kit, and it just gets shot down.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys want from this stuff. You always complain when you don't get enough magic items. And here's one which is just this kind of little like passive nothing. Yeah, for a handful of levels, you don't have to multi-class into picking up assassin, or you can choose this thing that's even better than charlatan background. So you get to take urchin or outlander or whatnot, right? And this will get you through the first tier and a half, or maybe even 2 tiers of play, right? And you're both bitching about it.
Well, I'm trying to. This is a D&D podcast, Adam. I'm trying to be, argumentative and stuff. I don't want to just agree with everything.
Well, look, I gotta say, I like this for flavor. It adds to role play. There's no huge mechanical boon that you get for combat, which is the biggest of the 3 pillars of D&D, right? So, I mean, you're not really imbalancing what some people would say is the most important part of the game. So, you know what? And as common as it is, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
Dan, you're right. Like, considering that this thing takes an attunement slot, sure, but it goes away because it's not going to be fucking important later when you can cast disguise self 7 times, right? So who gives a shit?
You're right. And
this is one of these tattoos that gets you this far.
I feel like we should add this disclaimer that I'm very appreciative of everything that Wizards of the Coast does, and I love this game, and I know I critique it.
We've already established they're not listening, Terry.
It's my job. It's my job here on the podcast. Because you think these people go and they put everything into their lives, and finally we might have created something that everybody likes. And then the internet gets a hold of it and goes, no, it's shit. It should have been very rare. Not rare. But, I'm appreciative of everything you're trying, and I know this is in play testing, but it's wrong, and fucking fix it. Or I'm playing Call of Cthulhu.
All right. Okay. So
as much as I hate the Masquerade Tattoo, it's not like the barrier one. The barrier one's hot shit. Get rid of the barrier one entirely. It's bad. This one, tweak it, and I could see it working.
Yeah,
the barrier one
tattoo
is a steaming pile.
Yes.
I think that the barrier one exists because they sat down and they said, well, what can we do with skin? And someone said, well, a lot of monsters have natural armor. Can we not do something with that? And that's where we landed with the barrier tattoo. Right. I think from a design standpoint, they just didn't know what else to fucking do with it, right?
The barrier, it kind of feels like they had a deadline of a UA for magic tattoos that had to come out, and they ran out of fucking ideas. So they're like, I don't know, fucking unarmored defense, but better.
There's no deadline for UA. I feel like UA is just a bunch of interns that they lock into a room and they're desperately trying to come up with something, otherwise they're going to get sent home. So I don't think there's any deadline for this.
Well, whoever wrote the barrier one should get sent home. He should try to find a different field of work, because that's just hot garbage.
It's like a group project, and we've got this idea. What is it? It's the barrier tattoo. What does it do? Get the fuck out. You're gone.
Yeah. Anyways, so what do we have next? We still got 2 more to do.
Yeah, I'm going to shunt the conversation over in that direction. We've got the Spellwrought Tattoo next, and it's wrought as in you have written, not rot like something is rotten. So Spellwrought. This one is the rarity varies again, so this one scales. This tattoo is also the only one, pay attention to this, there's no alignment. This tattoo contains a single spell of up to 5th level. It's wrought on your skin by a magical needle. To use this tattoo, you have to hold the needle against your skin, so this all sounds a whole lot like the attunement, right? Where you want to appear and speak the command word. The needle turns into the ink that becomes the tattoo, which appears on your skin. Once the tattoo is on your skin, you can cast its spell, requiring no material components. The tattoo glows faintly while you cast the spell and for the spell's duration. Once the spell ends, the tattoo vanishes from your skin. There's nothing about the needle coming back. The level of the spell in the tattoo determines the spell's saving throw DC, attack bonus, spellcasting ability modifier, and the tattoo's rarity, as shown in the table. Cantrips and first level spells are common. Second and third level spells are uncommon, and fourth and fifth are considered rare. It doesn't go above that. Your spellcasting modifier is 3, 4, or 5. Your save DC is spell save DC is 13 for cantrips first and second, 15 for third and fourth level spells, and 17 for fifth. And the attack bonus is +5 for cantrip first and second, +7 for third and fourth, and +9 for fifth, which is about standard for spellcasters. The spell save DC and the attack bonus really feel standard for where they're leveling and getting access to these spells at the beginning. However, hold on. Remember that if you're a 19th level spellcaster and you get a couple of cantrips tattooed on you, their spell save is significantly lower than what you're doing. Right? So is their attack bonus. So there we are. Right? So it's tied to, the mechanics are tied to the tattoo. They're not tied to your spellcasting ability. That also means that anybody can get these, including martial classes, rogues and fighters. So, Terry, how do you feel?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit there, Adam, but I do have it in front of me. I'm just reading it quickly. So essentially, I can store a spell and then use the spell without the material component. Is that essentially it?
You also are not using a spell slot.
So, when we take away components, I start to think about those big spells that require, like, diamonds and stuff, right? So I'm thinking, like, Revivify and stuff. So, these are the types of spells that me, like, strategically would be storing within my skin, is those sorts of spells. But those spells, they have those material components because those material components are important, because they shouldn't be easy to get. And so this essentially, it says rarity varies, and I guess, spell level up to 5th level is when it starts getting rare. I mean, what level is Revivify? Does anybody know?
Third,
right? So it's treating Revivify as uncommon.
Which, I mean, it is. You're able to cast it at level 5,
yes.
Right? You get it at the end of tier 1.
And then once you cast it, the tattoo disappears. Like, it's basically one and done.
Yeah. And you don't get the needle back. You can't do it again. It's gone.
Do you know what the one and done part means? I like it, because it means you're gonna put a spell in there that you're probably planning, like, worst case scenario, but you can't go crazy. Like, you can't put wish in there. You can only go to 5th level. So I've got no beef in that it's capped out at 5th level. Okay, you take away the material component, but that's okay because it's essentially you're putting your Hail Mary spell in there anyway. You can only do it once. And then it scales the rarity on it. You know what? I got no problem with this because you could do something very, very powerful. Not game-breaking powerful, but powerful like a big wow factor. You can do your hero moment, but then it's done. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm totally fine with this. Because the spells themselves are so radically different in their effectiveness based upon their level, not all 3rd level spells are created equally, and neither are cantrips. Nobody is going to get mending fucking tattooed on their skin, right? So there's going to be some things, you're going to see a lot of fireballs and revivifies and counter spells, right? You're going to see your Dispel Magic or your Detect Good and Evil or whatever it is, right? You're going to see these consistently. There are others that are going to be Purify Water and drink or food and water, whatever it is. No one's doing that. Nobody's doing that. So you're going to see some specific ones fly maybe occasionally, and then it all depends on. You're right. We're replacing spell components. You're also not taking up a spell slot, and it's not taking an attunement. This is how the whole fucking thing should have been designed.
Yep.
I don't have an issue with this.
I have
at all. Sorry. My last thing is, I like the idea that the rarity scales, the spellcasting ability modifier scales, the save DC scales, the attack bonus scales. I like all of it. There's nothing here that really bugs me.
Yeah, and
what do you got, Dan?
This is about as fair as they could have got it, right? For me. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, no worries. I'm kind of with you guys. I have absolutely zero problem with this. Especially considering that there is no limitation of which school of magic you can put into these spots. So I mean, yeah, use self buff spells with this, right? Like use spells that don't require an ability modifier, save DC, or attack bonus. Like, don't use offensive spells here. Use defensive. Use contingency spells, not the spell contingency, but like contingency spells in these spots, and you're golden. I love the fact that you can have multiple.
This is your mage armor,
ones,
your shield, right? Your enlarge reduce.
Yeah, your
enlarge
reduce,
right?
Your divine favor, your haste, right? That's where these belong. Your dim door, your
craft.
Yeah, all of these are perfect for this, right? So, I mean, I don't understand why you would. Look, guys, a flower. There goes that investment. But yeah, no, I have no problem with this. This feels like the one that they wrote first and went, okay, here's the one we're going to base everything around. Now go. And then did a lot of acid and wrote down what their trips were.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's that one and done thing that I like the best, because it's like, okay, you had your moment, and it's the whole idea of like DMs, congratulating your players and don't be adversarial. So it's like, okay, you had your big moment. Now it's done. Yeah. Let's get rid of that instead of, fuck, are you going to do this tomorrow? Because I didn't prep for this shit.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the last one, the Shadowfell brand tattoo. This one is very rare, and it is dark in color and abstract. While it's on your skin, you have advantage on stealth checks. So that just always, okay, sure, fine, whatever. Listen, your last character had fucking advantage on everything that you ever played. I don't know why you're pissed off about this.
This is just the edgelord of edgelord tattoos.
Yeah, this is how the rogues got 41 on stealth.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm cool with it. If people are going to min-max, you let them, and then you just rip on them when they're on a podcast.
Yeah,
right? It also has shadowy defense. When you take damage, you can use a reaction to become shadowy and insubstantial for a moment. How do you pronounce insubstantial, Terry?
Sorry? Insubstantial.
Oh, okay, thank you. And it reduces the damage you take by half. So you essentially get resistance to everything. Once, right? You can use this reaction once. It can't be used again until dawn. So there it is. So you essentially get advantage on stealth, and every once in a while you can half damage once a day for a very rare.
Yeah.
Terry, how do you feel?
It's very rare, and it's. Do you know what I have in mind? What sparked my creativity here was this would be like a gift. Do you remember? It was months ago now. I was like, "Oh, guys, wouldn't it be good if we had like a big bad that was a rogue?" I remember Adam, you saying that like it's a good idea, but it'll just piss people off when you're like coming up through trapdoors and blah blah blah. And I was like, but this seems like some sort of gift that maybe some high level rogue or warlock might give you, where it's going to be good to everybody who's not a rogue. Like a rogue's gonna be like, okay, thanks, Chief. This just sounds like a turn to me. But anyone else is gonna find this very valuable, particularly. And
the paladin and fighter are gonna love this, right? It's gonna negate the disadvantage.
From playing a fighter, and my fighter was my favorite character that I had. I would have absolutely loved this. And we kind of forget, you kind of think of all the classes and stuff. You kind of assume that you're going to have a rogue in the party, but not always, right? So I think this is hugely valuable. I think very rare is fair under the right circumstances. We know ultimately these things are up to the DM, right? That where this comes into play. Like, are you going to bring this tattoo or item or idea out if you have a rogue anyway? Well, maybe not, because they're going to just feel like it's not worth it. But if you don't, this is probably something really good to bring out that I think the team will really appreciate. And like with regards to power and things, I don't know. I don't have any beef with it. I think it's well balanced. I think you just have to choose your party correctly.
Yeah, honestly, I'm totally fine with all of this, except I would give it 3 charges for that second ability, for that shadowy defense. It's very rare. It seems pretty underpowered considering what crazy shit the rare stuff was doing.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, so, Adam, you're right. If it was rare,
so just give it 3. Just give it 3 opportunities to do that, and there you go. I'm fine with it. Or scale it down to rare, and then it feels balanced to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I mean, the ability to turn Int, and Tantil is great. So I'm giving it a couple charges to be 3 times a day.
Yeah, especially because it's very rare. You're getting this far later in your adventuring career, and your attunement is probably pretty precious to you at that point. So I would make this a little bit more attractive.
Yeah, I like it. And you're reducing the damage by half, so it's perfectly fine to me.
Yep, I have no problems with this.
All right, guys, do we have anything else we want to say about magical tattoos? Okay, overall, first of all, Terry, how much do you like this? On a scale of 1 to 10, did this UA tickle your balls first mentality in playing?
I love the way you and it. You know when you think you know what somebody's gonna say, and I'm like nodding along in my body. I'm like, did it tickle my balls first? Yes, it did, Adam, and I'll tell you for why.
For why, Terry? For why?
Because I think this opens a whole new chapter in the game, right? It's like, it's not just about these magic items, which are tattoos. They're just, magic items. It's how creative can we get in the game. Now, everything means something. When you meet that band of barbarians that have those, stereotypical Norse tattoos, they mean something now. Those Japanese style, those Maori tattoos, those Samoan tattoos, the white girl tattoos, whatever we joke about, it's something new to explore, and I think it opens it up. And as long as it's like any other magic item, as long as you balance it correctly, as long as at your session 0, you're laying out the rules, what everything means. You're laying out what you're going to do at your DM's discretion. Not giving away the cards per se, but saying, I may do this. I think if we do this, we'll do it this way. It just makes the game more interesting. I don't see any downside to this, as long as we're being fair. Same as the rest of the game.
Do you have a scale of 1 to 10? Do you like this edition?
The tattoos?
Where would you
10?
I'm going
to say 10 because if I say 9, I'm lying because I don't have anything I'm concerned about, or I don't have anything I think is negative. I think this is only positive as long as you're being fair, but that's the same for the rest of the game.
Honestly, for me, I'm going to say that I would rank this addition to UA. This sits at a 7 to me. I think that a lot of it would rank as a 9 if the attunement wasn't there. And I think that there are wrinkles that need to be ironed out. There are some that are really good, some that are really bad. It's weird to me that they didn't just base this shit around spells, right? Like, this wasn't just instead of a material component, you can do this kind of thing and it needs to be this big to cast this level of spell. I don't know why they went weird with Ghost Step and fucking all the other weird ones that they got. Although I like that they've done it. It's just strange that they didn't stick with the magic mechanic they already have there. Mm-hmm. Right? If they want to add a whole bunch of new stuff, just make new spells and release them. Right, so that you can attack people 30 feet away or whatever it is, right? So, I don't know. Or magic items that are actual items. This one's a necklace that lets you do this, right? Or a shield that lets you do it, whatever it is. I think that for what they've done, it's good. I'd like to see them really hammer out the details and stop using the fucking attunement slots up. If you're gonna do that, then make it actually be consistent, because it's inconsistent. Dan, what are your final thoughts?
I really like the subsystems they brought in with these. I really like the the Spellwrought Tattoo. I think it's the strongest of the bunch. I liked several of these, but at the same time, some of them are real stinkers. I think I would use them as me if I was to DM with these magic tattoos, which on a scale of 1 to 10, I have magic tattoos in all my games and have for years. This doesn't necessarily add anything new, but it's good to see that they're thinking about adding an actual system in. But in my opinion, they need charges. They shouldn't require attunement. But if you have enough of them and they require attunement and you could just stack them all under one attunement slot, I'm on board with it. I want to use that for other items. That's where I'm at. So I like this as a system. I like it as a thing to inject into my game. I would definitely do it different than they laid it out here, but not very much.
All right. Well, that brings us to an end on this special Mailbag episode. Thank you to @Gelfwings, and congratulations again on winning our giveaway. If you have any other questions, anybody, you can reach us at info@itsamimic.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, most of the social media, and dozens of other podcast apps. We also have our website, www.itsamimic.com. Thanks for listening to the It's a Mimic podcast. Make sure to stay tuned for future giveaways and other opportunities for us to ramble for 2.5 hours about your crazy ideas.
You've reached the end of another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. Connect with us at itsamimic.com. Don't forget to subscribe and hit those share buttons. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.
Okay, bye. 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 Okay, bye.